Hey everybody, this is Julius. We are continuing our MCU GOAT saga of the narrative podcasts. This is the final Fantastic Four story. Next week, we are going to get into Secret Wars, finally, the finale of our great story here. I believe this video originally premiered in July of 2020, so enjoy the discussion and enjoy the story following. Have a great one, stay safe, and goodbye.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. This is the GOAT Movie Podcast. My name is Angel.
I'm Julius.
This is a show where we love talking about movies, comics, pop culture, anything that we're passionate about talking about. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. For this episode, we're going to be doing a pitch for part 4 for the Fantastic Four. Julius has been doing a wonderful job of this series where he just pitches his ideas of how to introduce the Fantastic Four into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is part 4. So if you haven't seen part 1, 2, or 3, we're going to summarize part 3 a little bit here. But I do definitely urge you to check out part 1, 2, and 3. We'll have links there and also playlists ready to go for you to check those out, dive into this world, and have your mind blown and evolved to the level of
Evolved.
you're going to feel hot like Johnny Storm. If you don't check this out, you're basically invisible like Sue Storm. And honestly, if you really go from beginning to end, it's clobbering time. I'm telling you. Seriously, me revisiting this entire pitch, it really is a joy. I'm telling you. Especially since we're all at home, sticking around, not really doing much. If you are being productive, that's amazing. But really, check out these pitches, and I guarantee you, especially if you're Marvel fans, Fantastic Four fans, your life will feel elevated. I promise you. I told Julius in our last video, when he was done with part 3, that his writing reminded me of Joss Whedon's work when it comes to like the X-Men.
And I thank you again for that.
Seriously,
It would have been nice to hear that when we did the X-Men podcast, but I think
yeah, I'm telling you, like, the reason why I say it feels like Joss Whedon's work is because every singular pitch that you have feels like its own like event. Right? And it feels like its own standalone thing. And that's what I really love about Whedon's work that I feel like you do very well as well. You get pitch 1, you deal with something like multiple universes colliding together. Awesome. The way you wrap it up, beautiful. You get pitch 2, and you get the masterful villain of the Maker.
Well, I'm going to go into your pitch, and I'm going to remake it, reshoot it, and then people are going to go release the Emerald cut of his pitch.
I'm telling you, man, the reason why it gets me so excited is because it gets me doing dangerous things, like asking for Fantastic Four shirts, which the love of my life gladly got me, and I got to show it off because it's
look at that
spectacular, man. We got to get these people in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There's not enough Fantastic Four merchandise out there, but I'm hoping we get more in the meantime.
Yeah, I told Angel before we start recording, you can either keep the shirt or marry your girlfriend for getting you the shirt. And I'll take the shirt, but that's a nice shirt, man.
Thanks, man.
I wish I was, like I said, I'm wearing blue, so I think that's cutting it, but that's a really nice shirt, dude. You came correct.
I'm telling you, I asked for it because I was just so excited. I'd just been so infatuated with this fan fiction world, and just been so excited and can't wait for the Marvel's First Family.
Yeah, me neither.
On screen, it's going to be very, very exciting. And I knew you were going to conclude it with a huge bang, so I was like, I got to ask for a shirt.
Bang, bro. I mean, this is nuts, mainly because this storyline, because it's not only the Fantastic Four we've also covered the X-Men. There is a video series, basically, of this whole saga, I guess you'd call it, and it started back in January of last year, 2019. That was when the first X-Men video you and I did premiered. It's a very different video than the ones we have now, because those stories are just like they're really quick, whereas these, I'm gonna let everyone know right now, these are long form, as you can tell, probably because of the time that it says, however long this video ends up being. Over the time period that we've done these, the writing's changed. I've tried to be as detailed as possible. They're like pseudo narrative podcasts. I'm just reading what I wrote, and yeah, I hope to make people happy with this last one. I mean, there's a lot of history behind this. You know what I mean? Like, before we get into the pitch, we should probably set this up for people who are following, but maybe some other people who haven't been as like diligent as the writer himself. You know, with the continuity.
Okay.
So I think the way we should set this, how do you think we should do this? Like, first the timeline, or do you want to talk about part 3? Kind of bring people up to date there.
Yeah, I can bring people up to date for part 3.
Okay.
Like I said before, if you haven't seen anything, definitely check out part 1, part 2, and part 3. They're all up on the channel.
Yes.
We have easy accessibility to those videos, and just know the length of time is identified there in the thumbnail. Get ready for a ride, for a journey. But this is a summary of part 3. So in part 3, it's like the length of an MCU movie. It runs about 2 hours, and it is epic, man. It's set up just like an MCU movie. It is a huge treat, man. But it opens up with Reed Richards up in space and crash landing somewhere. We don't know yet, but that's when the opening title comes up. We see from an image at the Baxter facility, which is known as, or which you titled the Future Foundation facility. It's an institution where the Fantastic Four live by a code, and that code is one for all, because it's all about family. And that's the title of part 3, is Fantastic Four, One for All. So Reed Richards, he returns from a 5-year space journey with his children from an alternate universe known as Franklin and Valeria. And what they set out to do, which was really awesome by the end of part 2, is that they were off at a planet known as Zenla after receiving a distress call from a small town leader.
The Star Wars crawl at the beginning of the movies.
Yeah, a distress call from a small town leader known as Norrin Radd, who is later on identified as the Silver Surfer. But this distress call, it was related to a virus that had broken out. And Reed Richards knew that he needed more than scientists, especially to take out this Annihilus wave virus. He needed more than just scientists. He needed the Fantastic Four. So then we have this whole entire recruit sequence that's just absolutely astonishing. And when they go and try to recruit Johnny, they find out that he's living in Latveria, which was renamed from Sokovia and led by Victor Von Doom. But now Johnny lives there. And Johnny being in Latveria, he has a wife, he has a baby on the way. He has really found himself and he's really managed a really good grasp on life. And this takes Reed Richards by surprise. And at first, Johnny Storm is very reluctant from leaving because he doesn't want to. I mean, come on, Reed Richards just can't come into his life, take him out, and fight for what Reed is fighting for. No, he needs to sit down and protect his family. But by the end of that sequence, we learn that Johnny's influenced by his wife, that he needs to go to ensure the protection of his family. So that's what ends up happening. And through their journey in space towards planet Zenla, they run into the Nova Corps, which is very, very exciting. The Thing gets, unfortunately, sick. He gets stricken by the Annihilus wave virus. There is no cure. They're finding out through Act 3 how to discover a cure to combat this virus and also fight Annihilus at the same time. But unfortunately, they cannot find the cure. And Ben Grimm, unfortunately, dies.
Yeah.
And we find out after his death, which is just extremely impactful and beautifully leads into the theme of the overall pitch by the end. We learn that Doom is actually the one behind everything. He is Annihilus, the lord of the negative zone. When he was in the negative zone, he absorbed everything, became all power, all mind, all spirit, became Annihilus. And he's the one who's actually behind the eradication of Reed Richards' universe of 1610. And that Reed Richards actually became the maker and started killing a bunch of different Reeds. So we find out that Doom is behind just this gargantuous power as Annihilus, creating another ultimate villain as the maker, and just behind all this evil and wants to destroy Earth.
Yes, because I'm sorry to interrupt, but in the part 2 story that we had, the Maker was the villain. And Doom wasn't like Dr. Doom at this point. He was just the ruler of Latveria. He's an old friend of Reed. Reed comes to him to ask for help so they can take him down. And the Maker is the one who like blasts Doom's face. He's launched into the negative zone, and he's thought to be dead at this point. So he blames Richards for what happened.
Yeah. And we have people to combat that evil power. And Julius introduces the Illuminati, which is filled up of members like Doctor Strange, Iron Man, Namor, Nick Fury, etc. Super, super exciting.
Etc.
And it ends with the grieving of the Thing. And we learn that Reed Richards realizes that he's always looking for an answer for something. He's always looking for an explanation to things and science, when he was never really searching for the right answer, which is understanding what connects us all, what draws us to each other. And by the end of that pitch, he learns that. He understands it, and he knows more than ever he's got to be there, not only for the Fantastic Four, not only the world, but the universe.
Yes.
And so we have Reed Richards back in gear as Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic. And when it leads into our post-credit scenes, our first post-credit scene, we have someone entering with Nick Fury. We don't know who he is yet until he pulls out his ID card and he says, "I think I can help with your Doom situation." And it is Phil Coulson, agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Legendary. And we go into our post-credit scene too, where we see a very important character in part 3, Ben Whitley, who is a genius, very good at building computer stuff, and
Reed's his hero.
He's just extremely intellectual, and he looks up to Reed Richards. And when he puts on this helmet, we have Doom ringing in his ears, possessing him and telling him that he is now the wizard and will be useful for his carnage.
Yeah. Some other things I wanted to bring up that were big by the end of the last pitch was the when Doom kind of reveals himself. He's like he kills Ben at this point. He takes the parts of this culture Zenla that are built from the dead bodies of Celestials, and he builds Galactus at this point. He turns Norrin into the Silver Surfer along with Valeria and Franklin Richards, because Valeria is married to Norrin. Through these 5 years she was married. She turns into another Herald of Dooms. Franklin turns into Terrax, and their next destination by the end of part 3 is Earth, because Doom just he's pissed. That's why. That's basically the plot of this new one. Doom's mad. So there, as you can tell, there's a lot going into this next one. I'm tying in what I did with X-Men and Fantastic Four here, so there's a lot of stuff that's happened at this point. I don't want to intimidate people. You don't even have to listen to the other ones if you don't want to. But I'm just letting you know that there's going to be some stuff referring to the past. In the world at this point, I mean, we have a whole timeline that I actually put together, and I'm going to have a whole image in editing. But here's a little tease to it of everything. Freaking glare, man. But just letting you know that 2023 was the events of Endgame, as we all know. All these stories lead up to 2029, where our new one is at this point.
Wow.
So there's a lot of stuff that we've had on our podcast and everything. So I just want you all to know. The X-Men fought the Avengers in X-Men versus Avengers. The mutants are near extinct because of the actions, the words spoken by Scarlet Witch. No more mutants by the end of that. There's a lot of stuff. And I just hope everyone, enjoys this for what it is. You know what I mean? Even though there's a lot of stuff referring to past stories. So I'm just letting you all know that. One thing that I want to ask you, Angel, throughout, since this is the last Fantastic Four one, you can, apply this to the MCU stuff we've done as a whole, but specifically starting with Fantastic Four, what do you think's been working? And what do you think, more importantly, hasn't been working? I know, like, whenever in the heat of the moment, it's hard to think of anything, but when you revisit some of these stories, what do you think works and doesn't?
I think for me, what really works is the family dynamic between everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it, countless times throughout each pitch, but I really do feel like that love for everyone between Johnny, Susan, Reed, and the Thing. I really feel it, especially by the end of Pitch 3. I definitely feel it wholeheartedly. When Ben dies, it hurts. It really does.
Yeah.
And I love that his death isn't just, um, I wouldn't say like throwaway. Maybe like, I want to reference it to something like maybe Quicksilver in Age of Ultron, although I do think that was a pretty good death that led to some powerful reaction from like Scarlet Witch.
So what you're saying is that if Ben died that way in a movie, it would become a meme.
No, man. What I'm saying is it's more impactful than how Quicksilver was utilized
Okay.
in that, as because that I felt like was to move the plot a bit further along. Like it's just something that needed to happen for the next piece to be set in motion.
Yeah.
But Ben Grimm's death in this, it really feels like an emotional moment, not just something that you're putting there as like a plot device. It feels like it's consequential to the entire narrative, and there's huge repercussions to it. And I feel like it was a very integral moment for Reed to really, that the death of Ben Grimm was the answer that Reed has been looking for his entire life, which I believe is the understanding of love, connection, friendship, humanity, time. It really is. That's what I feel like. That's the answer that Reed has always been looking for, that he's never really investigated, because that's always just, he's just not that kind of person.
Yeah.
He's somebody that finds comfort in his own world. He finds no comfort in I think other people's worlds, or the feelings that he has with other people, that connection.
Yeah.
That's just the type of oddball that he is. But the second that Ben Grimm dies, he finally finds it, because it finds him, you know?
Yeah.
So that's what really works, is the character dynamic between everybody. Seriously. But everything else works. I feel the story works. I feel the writing works. The wit works. You know, like when Norrin Rad, when he first climbs up that building, and I think it was Valeria who was telling him, "Don't go on that makeshift surfboard." And he's like, "I don't know what a surfboard is," or like, "I've never been on a surfboard." It's hilarious, but it leads into something that's so epic and just really rewarding.
Oh, thank you. Well, I think that relationship, the ways that they're built, at least the ways I've noticed throughout, because it's crazy that this is coming up to a year since we started the first one. You know what I mean? That's insane to me. You know, these are very much things of what I notice in life. You know what I mean? I try to put as much into this work specifically as I can. And things that I've noticed through what I've gone through in this past almost year, which is things that we've all gone through at this point.
Yeah.
But one thing that was specific that has been kind of controversial, obviously, was the relationship between Sue and Ben, because they're married throughout the part 3. Obviously, they aren't anymore after Ben dies, but you know, that's something that some people have had a problem with. And I get it to a certain extent, because it's out of the norm, but within the narrative, I think it works throughout all 3, because I think what these do, these stories, is that they observe Reed's and Sue's relationship from kind of an outside perspective throughout each one, because there's the awkwardness in the first part, the what like the tension in the second part, like almost we're gonna kind of break some rules here between our relationship. And the third one, it's kind of plutonic. In this fourth one, I mean, you're gonna find out what it is. But I've realized that I've been trying to figure it out from that perspective, like a subjective viewpoint of what a relationship would be like between someone like Susan and someone like Reed, who's kind of Zuckerberg-ish, you know?
Yeah. To me, it was never an issue. To me, it wasn't an issue.
That's a stretch.
It's not your conventional Fantastic Four,
right?
You know, and that's what I think makes it special. I feel like with the Fantastic Four, you have to be a little unconventional with directions, you know, with some choices that you make. And I felt you've done that. It's not just something that you did to throw up in the air. There's meaning behind it, and to me, it's worked throughout.
Well, thank you, Angel. I appreciate that. It's gonna happen with Me and my puppets from now on. It's gonna be like, hey, Reed. Okay, but before this next reveal, I want to just give a little shout out to someone who's actually been pretty vocal under our videos. It's really cool, and he's actually asked for advice, which is insane because I'm not a professional writer by any means. I aspire to be. I hope to be one day. But Lit Comic Productions has been commenting on our stuff, asking specifically about like DC, whether DC Comics would get our viewpoint. And yes, I'm going to say right now, there's Marvel stuff that we have to take care of. Like today, obviously, we're taking care of this. But I just want to say thank you. And I know that he and I exchanged emails about writing. I sent him a copy of shitty first drafts because you got to know that you're not going to write perfectly. Like what I wrote today was not perfect at the very beginning, and it probably still isn't. You're never done, honestly. You always return to something and you're just like, there's more to be done here. I've cut things out of this one specifically that I wanted in there but wouldn't have worked in this narrative.
Yeah.
But that's my thing, man. You just gotta write the way you write, and then things like this happen.
Definitely. The best advice I've gotten from a professor regarding like writing in general, he said writing is rewriting. Writing is rewriting. And that can be further from that's the truth right there. I've been working on the Spider-Man comic that I've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
I've been revisiting it, and it had been, I think, like close to a year since I had looked at it. And it was just the opening. Because how I work is I go scene from scene from scene. Of course, I set up the first act, second act, third act. What do I want to see here?
Where
and then
it's going to end up.
Yeah, how I connect the dots.
Yeah.
Before I move on, I like to go through it from beginning to end. And right now I have the opening. And right now where I'm at, I really like the opening a lot. Mm-hmm. I love it. So I think I can finally move into Act 1. But I remember revisiting again, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I wrote this? Let me rework this a little and see what I can do. But it's fun. You'll surprise yourself. Write something and then revisit it back in like a week or two, and you're gonna have new ideas, fresh ideas. Oh, yeah. If you work that way, you'll improve yourself. So just know that you're not gonna hit a home run on your first attempt. You gotta practice. At all. You gotta practice, and once you practice, you'll start nailing it out of the park every time.
Oh, watch out! Throughout this recording, I'm gonna be like, "Oh shit, that's a good idea." Right? I'm just gonna be making up scenes as we start reading.
Yeah.
Okay, so I teased you the title last time. Do you have any idea of what it could like? What's a guess? What do you think it might be titled?
Fantastic Four. I don't know. Fantastic Four. Doom.
Uh-oh. I'm gonna try sharing the screen. Okay, are you ready?
I'm ready. Let me see it.
Hold on. I'm sorry, this is not good radio. Hold on. There you go. Can you see it?
Whoa, dude, that's epic.
Here, say the name.
Fantastic Four. Doomsday. Oh, dude, that's awesome, man. Love that.
Hope you're ready.
Man, I love that.
I'm not ready. Okay.
Look at that.
Yeah, boy. All right, I'm going to stop the share now. Okay. Should we get into it?
Let's do it, man.
All right, I'm just going to pull it up. Pull up my Google Doc. Google Doc. All right. Whew, boy, I'm nervous, dude. Okay. Fantastic Four. Doomsday once again. Our story begins in space, the final frontier. Stars that are light years away, hurling, asteroids, giant ships. The vessels wear the colors of blue and gold, with giant star insignias. 12 Nova command ships surrounding the now vacated planet Zenla. Nova Commander Roman Day, who is played by John C. Reilly, of course, stands on his ship's bridge with the councilwoman Zeta. both waiting for a response from Dr. Reed Richards and the rest of the Fantastic Four, who, for all they know, are still down on the planet. Zeta asks Roman how much longer they have to wait. The survivors of Zenla have to get a safe distance away from their former home before the Nova Corps obliterate it. Roman tells the council head that Reed assured him that he could save the rest of their people in time. He looks down at his control panel. The clock is ticking. Only 3 minutes left until he gives the order to destroy the planet. Suddenly, a transmission comes in from the planet below. It's the voice of quote-unquote Reed. Roman, destroy the planet, do it! With a heavy heart, Roman contacts the other 11 Nova battle cruisers, ordering them to fire on the planet. Like that, the missiles are launched, traveling viciously. Roman orders his crew to prepare to leave the area. Their next stop, the planet Corbin. The ship does a 360 turn, and the engine's ready. While moving, multiple transmissions are heard from the Nova officers of other ships. The sound of screaming and destruction are heard. Roman asks, "What the hell is going on?" The officers yell, "They're too powerful! Help, sir! Help!" The transmission stops, and all that can be heard are distant explosions. As the ship makes a full turn, all that can be seen from the bridge is a small figure floating. The shape of a man on a board, coated in silver, stares at the captain and his crew. It is their former ally, Norrin Rad, but more recently, the Silver Surfer. The surfer lifts his hands and shoots energy towards the ship. As the craft is blown back, Roman calls for red alert, battle stations. On screen, images of the other ships attacked are shown. They're all being destroyed by different beings. One in the distance, by a flying woman with the skin on her fire. It's the former Valeria Richards, but now she is something else. The other attacker is a man of stone with a scepter, jumping, leaping from ship to ship, breaking them with his might. Before, he was Valeria's brother Franklin. Now, he is Terrax. Roman orders fire against the Silver Surfer, but he's too swift. He shoots back and the ship takes heavy damage. On board, Zenian families are scared, helpless, just having escaped hell, only for it to have caught up. They hold each other for as long as they can. Roman calls for evasive action until something unbelievable happens. In front of the ship, they are approached by something so horrid, titanic, and ending. A giant figure, lifeless, draped in a purple armor. It is the newly invented Galactus, and atop of him stands its master, Dr. Victor Von Doom. Doom himself is draped in a green cloak, with a hood strapped to his metal mask, covering his disfigured face. Victor chuckles to himself, lifting his hand toward the ship below. I would say, good game, but that would imply you were a player. With no effort, the last standing Nova ship is destroyed by Dr. Doom, and its godlike ability gifted by the Beyonders. A green-hued thunder from his fingertips, and that's it. No more soldiers. No more Zenians. Their former protector, the Silver Surfer, watches the ship burn away with a still face. Doom is joined by his heralds, Silver Surfer, Terrax, and Valeria. He notices that young Val has taken a name for herself. You are not what Richards thought of you anymore. She's quiet, looking around at the destruction they brought, dead ships and people. She tells her master, and they call themselves Nova. I will take the name, and I will bring a new honor to it. She ignites, for she is now Nova. Behind Doom and his slaves, a voice is heard, a soft but demanding one. My. The doctor has indulged heavily. They look behind and see a giant figure with a white and blue cloak, eyes with no pupils, and an enlarged head. I am Uatu, the Watcher, played by Jeffrey Wright. The Heralds of Doom prepared to attack Uatu, but Victor prevents it. He is impressed by the Watcher's courage. For anyone to approach him with such conviction, they must have a thing or two to listen. Uatu warns Victor of his present course of action, for he's seen all. to attack the Earth in the way he chooses will cause havoc across the fabric of reality. Doom knows what he must do. There is no future without him. He is the key to ultimate peace. Uatu is amused by the doctor's assurance. You will act in the way any other human would, Doctor, and I will continue to watch. But you were warned by the Beyonders. And now we both know who humanity's true savior will be. His name is Richards, not Von Doom. With that last warning, the Watcher disappears. Terax asks his master what they do now. Doom tells them all, it's simple. We prove destiny wrong and save the world. Black. Marvel Studios intro. All that can be heard is white noise in a dark conference room. From the shadows into center frame walks Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic himself. He's in front of a crowded table. His face is grim, but still determined. Before speaking to those in attendance, he takes a deep breath and lets it all out. Everything dies. You, me, everyone on this planet. Our sun and galaxy will eventually turn in on itself. I've accepted this. What I won't accept is the acceleration of what should be left as natural. Doom is coming. So what have we left to do? Reed asks. At the table sit the rest of Reed's Illuminati. Dr. Stephen Strange, Nick Fury, director of S.H.I.E.L.D., King T'Challa, the Black Panther, Dr. Bruce Banner, Hank Pym, Scott Summers, and the Vision. Dr. Pym chimes in, saying that the modifications to the escape vessels have been made. His work, alongside Dr. Banner and Strange, have been very intuitive. The crafts will be able to stabilize within the quantum realm if needed. Fury asks the Doctor if he's sure they'll have to go to that extreme. There are plenty of other worlds out there not only ready to be colonized, but with Earth-like cultures and plenty of space. The Vision reminds the director that the quantum realm is a necessary option in case their ships are put in harm's way unexpectedly. It's a wise way to prevent man's extinction. Scott Summers adds, and mutant kinds, or what's left of us. Summers wants to know when they're scheduled to make the announcement, and T'Challa tells him that Dr. Richards himself and Dr. Banner will later this week. It would actually be better if the leader of the mutant race joined them. Everyone will be listening to their announcement. A laugh is heard from the room's entrance, followed by an insult. The members are called ridiculous men, cowards. Reed responds, "How nice of you to finally make it, Your Highness." Joining the group is the Submariner, the King of Atlantis, Namor. A strong man with a lowered brow and winged feet. Namor calls them cowards again, running away before the thrill of battle is truly offered. Hank tells Namor that of course they want to stay and fight. But look at the pattern. He's lived a long life and seen unbelievable things, dangerous things that force the world to change over and over and over again. But the only thing that was consistent was the horror and the suffering. This time, they need to put the people first. Bruce brings up the fact that many of them have been to space already. They know what it's like out there, waiting for them. They can find humanity and Atlantis a new home like that. Namor says that he never knew the Hulk was actually yellow instead of green. He asks if they know what they will do if they evacuate the Earth. They will show the human race that the only way to survive in this universe is to run, not to fight. He says, don't meet Doom at the battlefield, because you can live the rest of your life sitting in front of a television set, imagining what war really is. And how dare you, Doctor, to try and force a water-dependent culture like mine to a dry, barren rock, such as Mars? Hank quickly reacts. So that's what this is about. Real estate. Once we're out of the picture, what's stopping you from moving from 70% ownership of the planet to a full-on adoption? Namor grins, asking Pym if he thinks humanity is truly able to fight off Doom for their 30%. T'Challa reminds Namor that the armies of Wakanda will remain on Earth to fight Doom, just like Atlantis. The submariner chuckles at the king, asking, does a primitive culture like Wakanda truly think they can measure to a god? Especially when compared to the might of Atlantis. But then again, Wakanda's past rulers would know everything about that, wouldn't they? The two stare at each other, both with hatred in their eyes. Scott tells Namor that this was a group decision. Evacuating Earth's population is the only way to preserve the multiple species. If we win here on Earth, great. We keep a home. But if it is a god we're fighting, we are required to draw up contingencies. As a fellow mutant, I expect you to agree, Namor. The king scoffs, asking him if he's sure that his judgment isn't impaired when dealing with the fate of mutant kind. After all, Scott is allying himself with the husband of the witch who limited their numbers. The Vision knows this is directed towards him. He stands up, telling Namor that Wanda is in intensive therapy after her actions in X-Men vs. Avengers. She's making much progress. Perhaps His Highness would benefit from meeting a psychiatrist. Before things get heated, Reed interrupts, reminding the group why they're gathered. They're not here to fight each other, but to bear off doom. Richards tells them that Victor is not a god. He plays one, but only a man seeks revenge. That is exactly what they'll target. Namor chuckles to Richards, asking if he's finally manned up and developed some new sense of weaponry. Fury butts in, saying that weaponry and defense is his and Doctor Strange's department. Strange has had the multiple Sanctum Sanctorums across the world, casting high-functioning shields across the planet. None of Doom's magic will or can penetrate it. Fury has his top man gather military, Navy, Marines, and Air Force, joining them under S.H.I.E.L.D's instruction. Not to mention the what seems to be never-ending supply of superheroes. Namor tells him that they don't need costumes, they need warriors. Fury agrees, letting him know that he's got an eye for talent. Scott asks Reed if they still don't have an estimate on Doom's arrival, which they don't. It could be any time, which is why they have to work really fast. Get the ships ready, and then they'll get the people ready. Namor tells Richards to save their space. He's damned his people, and if Atlantis is to die, it will be on its feet. Giving one last dirty look to T'Challa, Namor leaves. As the doors close, Namor exits, passing Susan Storm, the Invisible Woman, who is out in the hall waiting. He looks at her in a very suggestive way, but Susan isn't impressed. Back in the room, the meeting is adjourned. They will meet again in 3 days, before the press conference. Doctor Strange opens individual portals, all leading to the members' destinations. One by one, they leave. All left is Doctor Strange, Fury, and Reed. Fury tells Richards that there are still some people he'll need to meet before the ships will be good to go. Strange asks if he's found his pilots for the crafts. Reed is still working on that. Another portal opens for both Strange and Fury. They tell him not to work too long. They can't postpone Armageddon. The portal shuts, and Reed is alone. He exits the room, meeting Susan, who asks what their next steps are. But Reed asks where Johnny is. Susan leads Richards to him, through the halls, up the elevator, and is revealed that they're in the Baxter Building of New York City. It's unusual for the Baxter Building to be so empty. During this time of year, the place is filled with young, bright minds, students of the Future Foundation. But due to the coming threat of doom, the students have been dismissed. Reed and Susan pass the front desk where their security guard, Willie, is wiping a plaque. The plaque is labeled, dedicated to the memory of Ben Grimm, friend, husband, thing. Susan looks to it with a dead stare. They continue to walk away. Reed asks Susan how she's been lately. Susan has been pissed. I mean, how else can she say it? Which is why she is going to kill Victor. Reed tells her, for what feels like the 1000th time, she's not staying. The best place for her is on the escape vessels. Susan reminds Reed that she can easily cast a small force field around Doom's heart. He'll be done like that. Richards explains that the people need someone with the power that she has to protect them. She's not a killer. It's not in her DNA. Miss Storm is quiet, and Reed tells her He knows how angry she is. That's why he's staying, to make sure that they beat Victor. Sue, looking up to him, says, "Beat him? Ha, I want you to kill him." Reed is silent. The two reach Johnny's apartment, where inside he's playing with his newborn son, Nathan. Entering the living room is Johnny's blind wife, Alicia. Reed asks Johnny if he's ready to see them, and Johnny is. He hands his son to his wife, and the three go downstairs. Reed, Sue, and Johnny enter an underground hangar 3 miles below the Baxter building. In it, they see 6 modified helicarriers. Reed introduces them to the Herbie program, housing-enabled, robotic-bound in expedition. These are the shuttles they'll use to vacate the Earth. Johnny mentions that they look big, but not big enough for everyone in the world. Reed chuckles. Just wait. The three enter the interior of Herbie 2. Susan and Johnny are both shocked, with mouths hanging wide open. Reed stands behind them, with his arms tucked, triumphantly. The ship is bigger on the inside. Way bigger. Enough to fit 25% of the world's population. Reed was helped in the construction of this by Hank, Banner, and Dr. Strange. Johnny asks, "Where did you get this idea?" Reed says, "Oh, the doctor." Johnny says, "Dr. Strange?" Reed, sure. Susan asks how they could possibly have made these ships so quickly. At this moment, a small droid appears next to her, hovering at high level. This is Herbie, drone 36 of 489. He's very polite, introducing himself accordingly. They used a new, simple, and trustworthy AI designed by Dr. Richards, Bammer, and Pym, along with Strange's magic to fasten the production. All above them, more droids fly throughout the air, making improvements to the ship. It's remarkable. Another Herbie drone flies up discreetly with a built-in camera. This drone is spying on their conversation. Reed updates Johnny and Sue on their plan. The two of them are going to usher the vessels away from Earth, saving the species, while co-piloting with Herbie, Hank Pym, and Bruce Banner. They'll be in charge of security and protecting each ship, different teams with different heroes. Johnny protests, saying that Reed isn't staying on the planet. They can't lose any more of their family. Reed assures him that they won't. This time they're going to win. There's no other option. Johnny is reluctant because of what happened on Zenla, losing Ben. He's lost hope. He says, "These people better listen to us, and otherwise, what's the point of saving them? They'll just stay angry and insane." Susan tells Johnny to calm down, but he snaps at her, yelling, "How can I?" The room is silent. Johnny apologizes. He lost his powers. He couldn't save Ben. He can't protect his family. He's not a hero anymore. With his arm over Johnny's shoulder, Reed assures him, "Of course you are. You're the most important hero on the planet, Johnny. You don't have your power, and you're still doing what you can. Believe in them, and believe in yourself." Johnny wipes the tears from his eye, claiming he needs to sleep. He tells Reed to do his best in saving Franklin, Valeria, and Norin. Reed promises he'll do his best. They have until the press conference to get ready. The drone with the camera that was spying flies away around the corner of the hallway. It lands in the palm of Bentley Whitman, who's playing back footage of their conversation on his controller. With an ill intent in his eyes, he walks away, grinning an insidious grin. Days pass, and more work is done. The ship's readiness grows nearer and nearer. Reed works impatiently, day and night. It's taking a toll on him, but he knows the suffering will be worth it. Soon enough, it is time. The press conference is today. Away through corridors amongst multiple soldiers under hundreds of cameras is an isolation room. It's padded, but surprisingly comfortable, with a few pieces of furniture, decorations, photos, and books. There's a night table with a mirror and a Polaroid photo of Pietro and Wanda Maximoff and the Vision. This is the containment room for Wanda Maximoff, deep inside the Raft prison. She sits on her couch with a cup of Earl Grey tea in front of her. Across, on the other side of protective glass, is Dr. Stephen Strange. In a chair with some tea himself, he asks her how she's feeling today. Wanda, with a quiet sip, tells him that she hasn't been having a pseudo-genocidal thought in a month, so better, if that's what qualifies. Strange mentions that a couple of weeks ago, she has told him that she had heard different voices. Has that stopped since? Wanda tells him that it has, and it was probably her guilt eating away at her, along with this cozy prison. Strange continues, so you've thought more about the mutants. What specifically? Wanda tells him that she started to feel that it may not have been her place to dwindle the mutant population down by 70%. The doctor asks if she regrets her actions. And honestly, she isn't sure yet. Since she spoke the spell, no more mutants. Have her people been hunted? Is there any indication of a war between both human and mutate? The world is at more peace than ever before. Would that have happened if she hadn't spoke those 3 little words? The doctor tells her that they're never to know, but Wanda is certain. Strange leaves the room, meeting the Vision right outside. He tells the android that his wife's psychosis seems to be somewhat intact, but her morality is still warped. They shake hands, and Strange asks if Vision will be at the UN, but he'd rather stay and talk to his wife. Strange opens a portal and is gone. The Vision walks into the room, staying on the other side of the glass. Wanda smiles at him. He tells her that he finds it funny that security allows him in to see her, since he could one day just phase through the glass wall and break her out. Wanda thinks that he's too much of a Boy Scout for that type of fun. They chuckle to silence. Vision tells her that today is the day Richards will announce the planet's evacuation plan. Wanda tells him that she can fight Doom. They need her power. Vision says that he knows, but she interrupts. What is it, Viz? Don't you trust me anymore? The Vision, of course, does, but it's up to the government. Wanda is upset. Of course it's up to the system, and not the two of them. She turns her back to her partner, and the Vision is hurt. He leaves the room. In New York City, the headquarters of the United Nations is packed. Politicians, world leaders, press. The center is preparing for the televised announcement by Reed Richards and his colleagues. People are taking their seats, interacting with each other, wondering what's in store for them. Outside, hundreds of people gathered at the entrance, seeing dignitaries escorted inside by police and personal security. Inside a conference room of the building, Reed is going over his notes, over and over and over again. Sweat, followed by a glowing pulse rate. The door knocks, and in comes Nick Fury with Scott Summers. There's someone they think he needs to meet. In walks Sam Wilson, Captain America, leader of the Ultimates. The two shake hands, Reed thanking him for his assistance. Has Captain Wilson pulled together his Earth defense team yet? Sam tells him that he's still working on it. It would help to know where in the world or when they'd be fighting Doom. Reed tells him that he's also working on it. Reed asks Scott if there's been any word from Namor, but there hasn't. Atlantis may just cut itself off from the rest of the world. An assistant comes in telling the heroes that it's stage time. Reed enters the UN main hall, where he's photographed by multiple press agents. The occasion is televised throughout the whole world. TVs, phones, radio. So many are gathered in the streets, witnessing the live event on the screens of London, Times Square, Tokyo. At home, Peter Parker is with his Aunt May, eyes glued to the screen. In San Francisco, Scott Lang is with his daughter Cassie and his lover Hope Pym. At a faraway farm, Clint Barton is listening to a radio while his children play with a kite at the distance. At the raft, Scarlet Witch watches the news coverage on a small TV she's been permitted. And in the other room, the Vision uses its android mind to tap into the news feed. In the UN conference room, Nick Fury is joined by Susan Storm and Johnny Storm, Doctor Strange, and the life model decoy of Agent Phil Coulson. Many of the unexpected are involved in this time of hardship. It's hard to imagine, but instant to realize the ones we forget. Those who defend, punish, or run away. Those who cast off as inhuman, or hide within cloak and dagger business. Everyone is watching. Everyone is listening. Reed is followed on stage by King T'Challa, his wife Queen Ororo. I have such trouble with this name. Ororo Monroe Storm, Scott Summers, Bruce Banner, Hank Pym, and Sam Wilson. He starts off thanking the world for their patience. This announcement has come at a time where no one could be ready to act. But they, as those with the honor of protection, must. The planet Earth has received a very real threat, one that could change their livelihood and culture in ways that no one could imagine. Reed tells the world that he and his colleagues have talked to world leaders, planetary defense officials, strategists, astrophysicists, the ultimates, leaders of the mutant community, and so on. They've been approved and are moving forward with Operation Herschel. The plan? To move the population of Earth to a different planet with state-of-the-art equipment developed by the world's leading scientific minds. The crowd stands up, screaming, flashing, filled with questions. Reed takes the first one. Who are these attackers? Alien? Like Thanos or Loki? Reed is honest, saying that it is a human man, former leader of Latveria, Victor Von Doom. But this is not an attack from the country. More questions fill the room. What planet? Why does this require planetary evacuation? How many ships are there? How is this attack different from the others in the past? Why Doom? Reed takes each question at a time. Through 6 Herbie shuttles, the people of Earth will be moved to Mars, which at the moment is being terraformed at an incredible rate by a very nice group of people who call themselves the Eternals. The heroes of this world have never faced anything like this threat offers. And as to why it's Doom, he's been given an enormous amount of power. And like any diseased maniac, he's willing to use it the wrong way. A single clap is heard from the middle aisle. A man stands there in a suit and tie. Reed, his colleagues, the press, and cameras turn to him. It's Bentley once again. He chuckles with strange bravado, as if it were a stage production. Bentley moves through the crowd, announcing his disgust for Mr. Fantastic's sense of purpose. Bentley tells the world he speaks for Victor Von Doom, a man, like them all, someone who was nearly killed because of Reed Richards' jealousy. Victor wants nothing but to save his people and his world, all with the trust and compassion he once had. The love he's lost because of the false narrative spun by Reed Richards and what's left of his Fantastic Four. The crowd looks to Richards differently, with suspicion. Whitman asks the world this: without the barging nature of Dr. Richards, would any of this panic exist? Would you need to leave your home? Doom doesn't think so. From the stage, Richard asks Bentley, are you sure this is about the world? Or is it really about me not accepting your offer to join my team? You'd ally yourself with a killer like Victor, Bentley? Whitman holds back his tears. He starts to growl. I told you not to call me that. I am the Wizard! In front of the crowd, the Wizard's suit and tie burn off, revealing a purple mechanized armor. His arm turning into a plasma cannon. The crowd yells, the people at home shriek, and those in the streets watching gasp. Mr. Fantastic, Black Panther, and Captain America get ready to charge Wizard, while the others, along with security, direct the crowd out of the building. Bentley aims for Reed's head. He grins, aiming, and whispers, Forgotten King, for Doom! Suddenly, Bentley stops speaking. He gasps for air as his arm lowers. A knife protrudes through his chest. It's old, with engraved words, but they aren't recognizable in ancient language. Bentley falls, revealing his assassin behind. It's Namor. He chuckles as the Wizard dies, calling him a presumptuous fool. Reed grabs Bentley in his final seconds. He begs for a date. When is Victor coming? When? The Wizard's last words? February 4th. He dies in an almost empty room, in the arms of his former hero. Black Panther, giving Namor a dirty look, asks why he didn't say he was coming. The Submariner responds, and allow the Wakandan to kill? Medics rush in, grabbing the wizard, and Reed sits there, pondering. Later, at a patio high above the press bonanza down at the entrance of the Baxter building, Reed stares into the distance. He's thinking and thinking and thinking. Behind him comes Susan. Joining, she asks if he's all right. He says, "Of course not. Bentley was used as a pawn. Bentley was used as a pawn. One led to death because Doom knew what I meant to him." Susan tells him he can't blame himself for that. Reed asks if she blames herself for Ben's death. She responds, "Yeah, I see what you mean." She tells Reed that they're about to play a game where no one holds back. Everyone in his little group have thought about how they could kill Victor, all to save the world. Did Reed really think that he could talk Victor down when he returned? Reed had to imagine that he could. He's not a killer. Never has been, never wanted to be, never will be. Susan doesn't want him to be either, but at this point, he has to start picturing an end to this, a permanent one. The two are quiet and hold each other's hand. "Susan," he says, "you know I care about you. I don't want to see you go down a road that you can't come back from. After all you and I have been through, how can I?" Susan is quiet. She puts her palm on Reed's face. They stare deep into each other's eyes, even after all these years, and all they've put each other through. There's still heavy affection between them. She heads back inside. Reed is left with her words stuck in his head. What do I do? Richards comes back into the building, into a foyer where they join T'Challa, Fury, Strange, Summers, the Vision, and Namor. Reed asks Hank and Bruce, or where Hank, Pym, and Bruce Banner are, but they're double checking the Herbie ships below to see if the wizard sabotages them at all. They're running out of time. February 4th, that's only a week away. Namor suggests that they need to play offense against Doom immediately. He can't be allowed to come to Earth. Fury hates to agree with Namor, but what if he has a point? They always have the contingency plan, David. But Reed stops him right there. A nuclear strike may not be enough to even scratch Doom, let alone kill him. Even if it did, they'd lose more than they gain. The group ponders. They can't just tell Doom to stop his attack. Reed takes the moment and asks, what if they can? Perhaps there's a way to enter his mind and mentally close off access to his power. Telepathy? Wasn't Scott's wife, Jean Grey, one of the mutants who lost that power? Yes, but there must be a way. The Vision steps up, saying that perhaps Wanda could reach in his mind, find out where he is, and what his exact plans are. Fury immediately rejects the notion, but Vision continues to press. After all, Doctor Strange has seen progress from her. Strange tells him that there is progress, but she's just too powerful and unstable. Right now, they can't rely on her. Namor complains. Fantastic. There's no one who can pull off this cockamamie plan. Scott bucks in, saying that might not be true. He may know someone that can help. Reed asks, who? Not Jean. Scott replies, no, not Jean. Someone else. A complete gamble. The next day, Reed and Scott arrive in the city of Detroit. They enter an armed to the teeth prison, being escorted by a squad of guards. They dive deeper and deeper underground, passing multiple cells meant for the big and bad. Finally, they reach the end of the jail, at the final cell. Scott leads Reed into the room, where multiple cameras are directed to the other side of the protective glass. The prisoner they're meeting is a beautiful woman with blonde hair and pressed lips. It's an old enemy of the X-Men, Emma Frost. Emma comments on Scott's eyes. Since Scott doesn't have the visor anymore because he lost his powers. Sorry, I should have set that up. They're beautiful, Scott. But it seems that they came at a great cost. No powers? Homo sapien? Dreadful. Scott notes that he's impressed of how long Emma has stayed in prison. With her power of mind manipulation, she could walk out any time. Emma chuckles. These little men with their bars love the idea of controlling the powerful. And I love my room. Reed chimes in. But that's not why you stay. The world was once populated with a potential army for you. But now mutants are near extinct. You're scared of facing that reality, aren't you? At this moment, Emma completely dismisses Scott, finding Reed more fascinating. Flirtatiously, she tells him that she knows why they've come to her, to enter Doom's mind. But what's in it for her? Scott says that if she helps them, he will bring her home to mutant kind, where she can be reunited with her people once again, a fresh start. There she can try to save them the right way. Emma chuckles, asking if the missus won't get jealous, referring to Jean. But this is about the world, their children, and people. Everyone needs to stick together on this one, including Frost. Emma's dubious grin fades away, and she knows deep down that Scott is right. In her bed, Emma sits up straight, in a meditative position. She closes her eyes, breathing deeply. After a moment of deep thought, she's found him. Emma is now in space, near Jupiter. She looks around, seeing different pieces of thrashed metal floating. She notices that she is atop the head of Galactus, who is moving slowly. As the light of the sun hits her eyes, she sees in front of him is Doom himself. He stands at the edge of the helmet, as an explorer would. Emma approaches slowly. She lifts her hand towards Victor's head. Suddenly, visions of New York appear. The city is half destroyed. Asteroids fall to the Earth's surface. Dark clouds surround the bodies of heroes. A giant flood wipes across the metropolis. There is too much for Emma to handle. She lets go of the vision to see Doom looking right at her. He sensed her in his mind. Frost is shocked, backing away quickly. Doom raises his hand towards her, blasting her with energy. He's expelled from her mind, or from his mind, permanently. Emma is brought back to reality, opening her eyes. Still behind the cell, she tells Reed and Scott that she saw visions of New York City being destroyed from then on. The rest of the world. It was terrible. They ask if she can go back and deactivate his powers, but she's been locked out of Doom's mind. It'll take a sledgehammer of psychic energy to break the door down. Reed adds, or a great distraction. He proposes an idea where they use her and Doctor Strange's access to the astral plane to break into his mind. But that would require physical contact. They'd have to be with him. It's then decided. They evacuate the planet tomorrow, and they prepare for battle. Later that night, Johnny walks through the hangar of the Baxter building with the escape vessels. He holds his son while behind, Susan guides Alicia. Johnny is showing off the ships to his baby, showing him that Daddy is going to save him with those big whale-looking things. Behind, Alicia tells Susan that she notices how quiet she's been. She couldn't imagine what it was like for her to lose Ben. He was a good man. Quietly, Susan agrees. Alicia tells Susan that Ben was brave in facing death. All he worried about was Sue and his family. Susan asks how she knows this, and Ben told her that all of this before they left for Zinla back in One for All. Sue asks Sue says that he should have said something before it was too late. Alicia suggests, maybe. All I know is that he wouldn't want you harboring this hatred. Seeking revenge, that's not you. And it definitely wasn't him. Sue kisses her on the cheek. Thank you. Sue and the others see Dr. Pym and Banner working on the ships overtime, greeting them, but they're too focused. Pym basically shoos them away as they're guided out by a Herbie drone. Banner suggests that he should take a break, but Hank says that there's no time. Launch day is tomorrow. He can't fail now. Hank tells him that as a husband, he's failed before. As a father, he has. There's no room for error. Dr. Pym becomes exasperated. He drops his tools and checks his pulse. Banner quickly brings him some water, sitting the old doctor down. Pym apologizes to Bruce, but if it's no problem. He gets the pressure. The old man is impressed by Dr. Banner's patience. If I were the Hulk, I probably would have grabbed you by the legs and trolled you like a top, Bruce. Banner chuckles, explaining that it's been 6 months since he was big and green. He realized that having a balance between both sides wasn't enough. He had to be responsible with his rage, and being used as a military tool wasn't what he had in mind. He owes it to the world to be more than the rage. Hank grins. Maybe I have more in common with you than I realize, Banner. The two work until everything is perfect. The next day, at checkpoints throughout the world, billions gather to the different Herbie ships. Children excited, parents worried, missionaries praying. All over the planet, the people move in an orderly fashion, guided by police, military, and heroes. At the European base, millions march as former X-Men Pietro Rasputin, Kitty Pryde, and Kurt Wagner guide the worried and frail. On Utopia, Scott leads the colony of surviving mutants to shuttles that will take them to the African base. His former teammates Hank McCoy, Bobby Drake, and Warren Warrington get their people together, easing them from their worries. Behind Scott comes his wife and their little daughter, Hope. Jean notices Emma with them and asks if he's sure trusting her is the right play. He tells her that it has to be. He picks up Hope, takes Jean by the hand, and the mutants go to Africa, where Wakanda is in charge of gathering the continent's population. In the largest open fields of Wakanda, it's crowded with millions of people trying to enter the escape vessel. The lines are secured by Wakandan soldiers who are stopping skirmishes, arguments, and focusing on people's survival. T'Challa walks with Storm, who insists that she can help with fighting Doom. T'Challa denies her, saying that there is a chance Wakanda will lose their king. They can't lose their most powerful queen. You will lead the citizens to survival. I will lead the soldiers to battle, he tells her. The two kiss, and Storm hugs her love tightly. Approaching is Okoye, the personal guard of the Black Panther, bringing a holographic message from M'Baku, leader of the guerrilla tribes. The king is informed that it will take a considerably longer amount of time to fit the populace of Africa, mainly due to the panic and active worry of people. The ship is at 67% capacity. In America, the same process is taking place. It's almost time for the vessels to ship out. Hank Pym guides his daughter Hope and Cassie lying on board, with Scott Pym seeing them off. He mouths to his daughter, "Bye, Peanut." Clint Barton leads his wife and children on board, and they're greeted by Colonel James Rhodes, formerly War Machine. He'll be piloting Herbie Ship 4. The two hug, and Hawkeye says goodbye to the Earth. Wasn't all that anyway. Peter Parker sees his loved ones off. He hugs his best friend Ned, who gives him a little Lego Emperor Palpatine for luck. Aunt May comes up, caressing his cheek. Tony and Ben would be so proud of you, Peter. Lastly, MJ comes up to Peter, giving him a kiss that he'll never forget, one that he wish would never end. But it does. And he leaves, putting his mask on, ready to do his part. Reed is at the ship's entrance, seeing the final push of people off. He's notified that 4 Herbies are ready to go with the American one drone and the African one still processing. Richards turns to see his family about to enter the ship. Willie guides the families of the Future Foundation inside. Alicia comes to Reed, putting her hand on his face, wishing him luck. Johnny comes up to him, holding young Nathan. Reed rubs the child's head, promising Johnny that he'll get Franklin and Valeria back. Storm tells him, "Good. Our kids are the whole point of this, right?" Johnny, Alicia, and their children go to the ship. Johnny takes charge, guiding civilians inside, helping the elderly and sick first. They pass Susan. She comes down to Reed, holding his hand. She begs him, "Please, I need to be here. I need to bring him down. You know I'm right." Reed tells her that she won't cross that line because she knows she can't. Her power is to protect people, not assassinate. "I'm sorry, Sue." Storm looks down, knowing deep inside he's right. She hugs him with wet eyes. Just make sure Ben died for something real. The two let go, and Reed turns to get to work. Susan watches him off. Her face grows from sorrow to determination. The door closes in front of her, and the ship is ready. Later that night, at the Baxter Building, Reed is in his office, joined by Nick. Multiple monitors in front of him, showing the ships across the world taking off, all except for the one in Wakanda, still getting ready. Nick worries that the ship won't make it, but Reed tells him he has to have faith. With their tech and due to the orbital distance, the ship will make it to Mars in 4 months. A couple days of the Wakandan ship shouldn't make a huge difference. Then, a little ringing is heard from Nick's pocket. A small piece of recent history. A pager with a yellow star on it. Reed asks if it's her, and Nick smirks. No one else in the universe uses one of these anymore, Doctor. At that moment, the window in front of them is glowing. A light is floating outside, bright like a star, but only a few feet away. The light dims, and it is Captain Marvel herself, Carol Danvers. Moments later, inside the room, I was about to say the womb, Captain Marvel tells the two that she hasn't been able to find Thor or Jane Foster. They're just missing somewhere in space. She asked the Asgardians, but no one heard anything. The people of Asgard, who were on Earth, were mainly families and fishermen. The soldiers that were left after Thanos' invasion, went to protect what was left of their culture, led by the Valkyrie. It looks like they might be on their own. In comes Sam, telling them that they'll have to make that work. He hands Richards and Fury a near completed list of his team for New York. Barnes, Parker, Strange, Lang, Danvers, Frost. Who's Jennifer Walters? Fury asks. Sam says Banner referred her. She's his cousin. Apparently, she packs a mean punch. Fury asks Wilson if he's sure it's a good call not to bring the Vision, but he thinks that the robot needs to stay with Wanda. They don't need two messes, one in Earth, one on space. Wilson asks about Coulson's team. Are they collected? Fury assures Coulson that he knows how to pick all-stars. The two continue to discuss strategy as Reed slowly zones out. Something is pulling him out of reality. Odd. He's out of the context. He's done. Different sounds, winds, aroma pass by Richards. Voices softly calling his name. Reed. Suddenly, his name is called by a stronger, more confident voice. Reed! It's not now or tomorrow. It's many years ago. Reed looks around. He's in his old classroom at MIT. In front of him is his desk with piled tests, a cup of coffee, and a chessboard. Still calling for him is his friend. But how? Ben Grimm, the recently deceased Thing, is in front of him, calling. But he isn't big and covered in rocks. He looks as he did before the accident, before everything. His friend asks him if he's sure he's not going to come to lunch with him. On command, Reed tells him that he already has plans with Susan right after his chess game with Victor. Reed looks at himself, curious. Has he traveled back in time? What is this flashback? Ben tells him to go easy on Dr. Doom, as the students have started to call him. Ben leaves, but Reed gets out of his desk, running towards him, begging him not to go. Before he can reach for his late friend, he's gone. Suddenly, another shift. Another voice is heard from behind Richards. So, you survived. Reed looks at himself. He's now in his blue uniform. Behind, sitting on the other side of his table, Victor. Reed comes, seeing Victor sitting in his classroom, ready to play the game, but in his green robe, still covering his face with the metal mask. Victor, Reed asks, what are we doing here? Victor asks, do you really think I'm the nostalgic type, Richards? Reed responds, you tell me, you're the one seeking revenge. Doom chuckles. Victor tells his enemy that he has no control over this scenario, mind meld, whatever you call it. But he may have an idea of who orchestrated it. And he may be watching them right now. Reed asks, what are they supposed to do? And Victor smirks. Isn't it obvious? We're here to play a game. Taking a deep breath, Reed sits on his side of the table, the side of the dark pieces. White first, he says. The two exchange moves, taking pawns, moving bishops, preparing their knights. Doom congratulates Richards on moving the majority of the planet's population off-world. Reed is bothered by Doom's knowledge, but keeps his composure. So, You know about the escape vessels? Doom replies, my forces and I can see them right now, all the way from just past Saturn, except for the ones still in Wakanda, of course. His last comment bothers Richards. Reed asks why he hasn't attacked the ships. Doom assures him that he will deal with them just as soon as Earth is destroyed. Reed tells him, if it's me you want to kill, Victor, just do it. Leave everyone else alone. Leave the planet alone. Doom is silent, focusing on his next move. Victor, look at where we are. A time when we were friends. Don't you think that's significant at all? What if we're here to stop any further bloodshed? Asks Reed. And what if we're here to ensure it, Richards? My plan to save humanity unfortunately does cost some blood, says Doom. Save humanity? Reed chuckles. After you do that, what are you going to do with the people like you? The outliers who think it should all be in his vision? Are you just going to crush? Or are you going to work with them? Speaking of working together, did you know some of your heroes secretly thought that I was right? That my plan to set humanity on the right track couldn't have come in soon enough, Doom teases. Victor, Reed begs, you confuse me. You should be livid just by the sight of me. I killed your best friend. I took your children. I am going to kill you and destroy your world. How can you be so forgiving? Reed looks down. He doesn't have an answer. Only this to say. The Beyonders told you that I was the only one who could save the universe. Knowing myself, I could never do that alone. With your power, you could really save our people rather than just crush it all. Just think about it. What do you say? Asks Reed. I say, Doctor takes Reed's queen off the board. Bishop takes Wakanda, leaving the king in checkmate. Before Richards can respond, the pieces, the board, the classroom fades away, as does Victor. Reed is left alone in a disappearing room, in a once pleasant memory. He hears the voices again. Reed! Reed! Hey, Reed! Suddenly, Reed is back, in his office with Nick, Carol, and Sam. Wakanda is the first target. Get me T'Challa, he says. Through holographic comms, Reed warns T'Challa and Wakanda that they will be attacked by Doom before New York City. They need to get the ship loaded and shipped off immediately. What capacity is the ship at? T'Challa tells him 83%. They'll work extra hard through the night and get them out by the morning. Before they sign off, Reed asks the king if he's discussed with Namor about Atlantis' evacuation. Unfortunately, there's been no communication. Richards tells him that it may be for nothing, but this could be Wakanda's chance to make a potential ally by offering sanctuary. T'Challa is conflicted. He will try, but won't be held accountable for Namor's stubbornness. The meeting closes. In Wakanda, T'Challa looks down and is approached by Aurora. She tells him that it's not a good idea. If Namor wants to stay and die, that's his rule as king. The king asks his queen if they can't allow the past to prevent another nation's potential future. Wakanda can't be allowed to discriminate. Storm knows that more than anyone. Later, T'Challa and Okoye are chaperoned by his genius sister Shuri in a state-of-the-art submersible. The ship dives deep into the Atlantic Ocean. The more they travel, the less light from the surface shines. As the darkness surrounds, the ambience of the ocean becomes more haunting. Shuri activates the ship's headlights, and in front of them, they see two Atlantean guards, one named Tiger Shark, the other Namorita, sister of the king. They escort the tourists into the colony. T'Challa sees the desolate look of Namor's kingdom. Atlantis is a dilapidated country at the floor of the sea. Crumbled stone, statues of knights with algae. Soldiers stand at the ready. They are prepared for conflict at the word of the king. The ship is led to the center of the city. There, the travelers from Wakanda see Namor, floating with his eyes closed. His legs are crossed as he meditates, murmuring to himself, I shall not fail you. Your judgment, your love, your power shall be respected. Atlantis shall prevail. Namor's eyes open. as he notices the king of Wakanda. Shuri then activates a projected image of T'Challa shooting through the water, meeting Namor at eye level. Namor is impressed with Wakandan ingenuity. Of course, the beauty of advancement is often an attribute of thieves, says Namor. T'Challa asks who he was praying to. Begrudgingly, Namor says that he often speaks to his father, asking for guidance. T'Challa tells him that they have come as friends. Their offer to shuttle Atlantis off-world is still open. Let them move on, past their petty differences. At that moment, Namor yells, "Petty differences? Your kind sunk mine. Though centuries have passed, we've not forgotten the sins of the Black Panther." T'Challa tells him he's sorry. He knows the crimes of Wakanda. It's why he's king, to rectify, to be held accountable, to guide. Namor's people look to him for guidance. Will they be led to battle or to the future? Namor contemplates his king's words. Namor tells the Wakandan that He tells Namor that Wakanda is the first to be attacked by Doom. Will you join us in survival? He's angry, for his anger is fueled by his situation, but he tells the Black Panther, "At the break of dawn, Atlantis will join you in Wakanda." The Black Panther thanks Namor, saluting him. The ship ascends back to the surface with the hope of alliance. We move away from the isolation and serenity to Canada, at a bar owned by an old man who refused to take part of the planetary evacuation. Still at the counter, cleaning his glasses, listening to his country music, entering the establishment is Reed, Sam, and Nick. Richards is surprised that the place is still open, and Wilson asks if Nick is sure that they'll find him here. Nick assures them both. He's here. He hasn't paid his tab yet. The three approach the bar, the other side of it, where the gust of a cigar can be smelled. Sitting there, trying to enjoy his drink alone, is none other than Logan Howlett, the Wolverine. Nick tells him, "I see you didn't save me a drink this time." Logan responds, "It's the end of the world, bub. Not interested in spending my last shots with a bunch of shoulders." Sam notes that he never heard from Wolverine about joining his Ultimates team. What happened? Logan looks to them, counting. 3 humans, 1 mutant. Do the math. I'm near extinct because of you. Don't care if you got that shield or not, bub. Read 6 nets to Logan. Oh shit, sorry, hold on. Okay, sorry. My computer's being a dick. 1 second. Okay. Reed sits next to Logan, saying that they don't have time for this. Doom is coming, and the reason they've come to Wolverine is because they hope not to need him, but they can't be that naive. Logan looks to Richards. You don't want to kill him, so you came to someone who would, because you got everything to lose, and I don't, right? Reed looks down, ashamed that he's considered this option. Well, wise guy, I've lived a long time, and I lost a lot more than you or your super friends. And it's because I let Scott down, and everyone else. Mr. Fantastic knows something about failure. He doesn't want anyone to die, but that seems unavoidable. He tells the X-Men that their fight with Doom will either save their people or damn them. Logan can help preserve mutant kind if he puts down the drink. The best there is looks at his glass, sitting in his hand. He gets up, standing to the others, asking, "Where do you need me?" On the far side of the moon, Galactus stands guard, near an empty crater. Atop, Doom sits, meditating. The Silver Surfer approaches him, informing that their forces are ready for tomorrow's attack. Doom is pleased, but the Surfer notices that something is wrong, asking his master what's going on. Doom tells him that he's contemplating whether their attack is the correct course of action. He's been having second thoughts about his anger, on his hatred towards Richards. Norrin tells Doom that his anger is justified, for Richards is the one who decided to take both their lives and play with them like some experiment. Richards destroyed Zenla, the Surfer's home, At least that's what he was led to believe by Doom. The Surfer tells Doom that they must attack before Richard's influence corrupts humanity, leaving their race to go extinct like the Zenians. Doom pats him on the back. You are a good soldier, Norrin. The night in New York is empty and calm, and in the Sanctum Sanctorum, Doctor Strange meditates, floating in the air, joined by Emma Frost, both tuning into their psychic ability, preparing for the coming conflict, chanting, by the hoary hosts, allow us to reach into the void. We seep into our enemy's vision. The two see the Earth's protective spells in their mind, a giant mystical shield covering the globe. Something approaches, headed towards the atmosphere. It's hot, red, inflamed, and it breaks through the shields. In the sanctum, Doctor Strange and Emma Frost are broken out of their state. Stephen looks to the Emma. It's begun. It's nearing dawn in Wakanda. The escape vessel is finally filled up, with ship's maintenance and staff preparing to go. Damn, I'm sorry. T'Challa looks to the Ingenuity, glad that his people are finally going to be safe. His mother, sister, and subjects are all on board. The only one who's still with him is Storm. She wants to say goodbye before it's too late. At that moment, something breaks the sound barrier. They look up, seeing what looks like a meteor falling towards the city. It hits, but after the sound of impact, more damage can be heard. In the distance, T'Challa and Storm see the heralds of doom, Nova and Terrax, approaching the armies. T'Challa tells Storm to leave, but it's a fat chance. She refuses to go anywhere and orders the ship to escape. The vessel starts, but it takes time to lift off. Together, the Black Panther and Storm of Wakanda stand in front of their armies and chant, Wakanda forever! They charge towards the invaders, and the battle begins. The sun is set, and stars are out in New York City. In U.S. airspace, Reed, Sam, and Nick enter the control room of a SHIELD helicarrier being commanded by Agent Coulson. The agents are working to the clock, with red alerts and monitors showing satellite images of Wakanda's attack. Fury orders Coulson and Wilson to get their teams ready to be deployed to Wakanda. Nick tells Reed that if their teams don't make any difference in the battle, he's going to have to use the football. Reed hopes a nuclear strike won't be necessary. Another alarm is raised. Incoming projectiles are breaking the atmosphere, headed straight for New York City. Coulson says, I think we're going to need the heroes here instead, sir. The flaming, hurtling objects are metal, as if they were different pieces of spaceships. They hit throughout the city, bringing buildings down, causing mayhem. One batch of ships hit the Bronx hard. Wilson sends his red team over to see what they're dealing with. They're transported, a team consisting of Spider-Man, She-Hulk, Shang-Chi, and Miss Marvel. They go through the smoke, but can't see anything. As the red team approaches one of the crashed ships, Wilson, on the earpiece, asks what they're dealing with. At that moment, the ships open and comes multiple hordes of brood. Parker replies, Cap, it's giant roaches! Oh God! In the helicarrier, Reed recognizes the brood as the hundreds and hundreds attack our heroes in the streets. It seems that it can't get any worse. That is, until more projectiles break through the atmosphere. This time, they are ships, the ships of once thought allies. Multiple star-shaped jets fire on the helicarrier and the city. It is the Nova Command Force. Sam heads out, calling his blue team. Outside, he's joined by Captain James Barnes, Carol Danvers, and Scott Lang. Different Quinjets and F-15s are fighting off as many as they can. From the Nova ships, soldiers drop to the landing top of the carrier. They chant, for Doom, for God and King. Captain America and Marvel fly away, leading the fighter jets and SHIELD pilots to battle, while Bucky and Ant-Man stay to take care of the Nova grunts. Coulson calls into his yellow team, asking how they are holding up. In central Manhattan, the team's leader responds, I'm a man of faith, Coulson, waiting on that miracle. The leader of the team is the man without fear, Daredevil, fighting off soldiers and brood with his teammates, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and Jessica Jones.
Woo!
Coulson responds, "Reinforcements are in the hold right now, Mr. Murdoch. They're a bit preoccupied." At that moment, a monitor shows Captain Marvel being hurtled towards buildings, crashing and falling through different skyscrapers. This is not only seen by S.H.I.E.L.D., but by the news drones reporting the live attack on TV. In a bar in Hell's Kitchen, the news feed is being shown on a plasma TV. The bar is filled with cheers and beers, viewers enjoying the destruction. Those viewers? Villains. This party, dubbed The End of the World as We Know It, is hosted by the Kingpin himself, Wilson Fisk. In attendance, other criminals, loving the sight of their enemy's failure. We're talking Bullseye, Scorpion, Justin Hammer, the Shocker, Batroc the Leaper, the Steel Serpent, Bushmaster, Diamondback, Turk Barrett, Morbius, the Vulture, Mysterio, and so on. It's a damn party until the front door opens, letting in a blinding light. At the bar's entrance, the silhouette of a man in a trench coat is still. The only words from the stranger's graveling voice, "Didn't get my invite." Another voice from inside the bar, "Me neither." Out of the shadows, smiling at all the villains, is the Daywalker, Blade.
Yeah.
Two men enter, passing the trench-coated guest. One almost as bright as the light from the door, draped in a shining cloak. It's the Moon Knight, commenting, "We wouldn't miss this for the world," so to speak. The other man says to the bad guys, "Drink up, pendejos. Where you're going, ain't no full service." This man, Robbie Reyes, the Ghost Rider. Back at the entrance, the trenchcoat asks, "It's the end of the world, boys. We ain't got a lot of time, but we got a lot of bullets. So how you want to spend these last moments?" The man walks into the group's visibility, and their faces are now horrified. It's their worst nightmare. Frank Castle, the Punisher. The Punisher's final question, "What do you think, Red?" From the back of the bar, walks in the murk of all, Wade Wilson, Deadpool. He says, "I think their 3-picture deal just ran up." The Marvel Knights cock their guns, unsheath their swords, pull out their chains, and go to work. The sound of gunfire, screams, and horror from the bar are dulled out by the chaos from outside. In Wakanda, soldiers are being blasted and thrown away. The guerrilla tribe flank Terrax, but their warriors they can't challenge this herald's unnatural strength. Their general, M'Baku, chants, "Maefa!" His men follow with, "Ooh, ooh." Then, oh, shit. They continue the chant as they close in on the guardian of a stone. One by one, the herald breaks the warriors down, eventually slamming M'Baku on his back. In the air, Storm rushes after Nova, shooting lightning as she dodges, directing her fire into the soldiers below. The former Valeria attacks the escape vessel, which is just lifting from the ground. The mutant declares, "You serve a god, but you didn't take the goddess into account." Demonstrating her power, Storm summons clouds, unlike any Africa has seen beforehand. The rain from above stops the fire below, and the attacks on the vessel. With all her might, Storm fires an unimaginable lightning bolt to Nova, sending her down to the ground like a hurtling missile. Terrax sees this, still holding on to his brotherly love for the girl. He runs after his sister, and when he makes it, holds her unconscious body in his arms. After the attack, Storm falls to the ground, almost wiped down. She is caught by a soldier. Quickly, T'Challa comes to see her, seeing if she's okay. He tells the guard to get her on a small transport ship and make way to the escape vessel as soon as possible, before it's too late. The warrior follows the order, and the Black Panther sees his wife off. He turns to his enemy, making his way over to Terrax and Nova. He tells both of them that he knows what Doom did. He knows that they were once Valeria and Franklin. He can take them both to see their father, Reed. Growling under his breath, Terrax says, "Reed failed us. Doom is all there is now." At this moment, a horn can be heard, the type that is blown to signal reinforcements. From the east of Wakanda City, where the great waters lay, an army can be seen approaching. It is that of Atlantis. Thousands of soldiers stand ready, led by the generals Namorita and Tiger Shark. On the top of an Atlantean battleship stands Namor with a trident. T'Challa sees this, grinning. He looks to Terax, telling him to surrender before it's too late. Terax responds, "It is too late." T'Challa is confused and looks back to the army of the shores. At the sea, Namor stands tall, whispering, "Atuma, guide us." Lifting his trident, the submariner yells, "Imperious Rex!" At that moment, Atlantis' forces shoot cannons at Wakanda. The city's skyscrapers and villages are torn apart. The soldiers charge, ready for massacre. Quickly, T'Challa calls his forces, "Ibambe!" At his side, Okoye and M'Baku. His men come to him, orderly, ready for battle, but it looks unwinnable. Hundreds versus thousands. The goal is not to live, but to make sure the ship escapes. Having his panther cowl materialize, he charges towards the enemy. His men follow, and the war between Wakanda and Atlantis begins. Back to the bridge of the helicarrier, a portal opens. Exiting is Doctor Strange and Emma Frost. They see the havoc, soldiers dying, heroes fighting. Emma scans the minds of the turned Novas. She tells Strange that this is the only the first wave. She tells Richards and Fury that Doom is going to be here soon, that the damage will be irreversible. The power of Doom, the Surfer, and the Galactus body, together they won't be stopped. Reed says that they have to separate them. Fury notes that they won't be able to fight back as long as the brood Novas aren't dealt with. At that moment, Ant-Man is thrown through the window right in front of them. Looking at Scott, Strange acquires an idea. He asks how many growth discs Scott brought. Scott only has one, but it's a one-time kind of use thing. Why? Strange tells him he'll explain down on the ground. On the streets of Manhattan, different heroes fight alongside each other. Shang-Chi with the immortal Iron Fist. She-Hulk and Luke Cage. Miss Marvel alongside Jessica Jones. Kamala Khan asks Jessica, "Isn't this freaking awesome?" Joan looks at her like she's crazy. Spider-Man swings up to Daredevil, both fighting back to back. Hey, Mr. Murdoch, fancy seeing you here. Or, I didn't mean to see you. Matt yells, "Shut up, kid." A portal opens near the Defenders, who are still fighting the swarms of scum and villainy. Doctor Strange and the Ant-Man step out. Stephen tells Scott, "Call them." With his Pimtech, he calls every ant in the city. The heroes on the ground are completely surrounded, and Jessica Jones asks, "What the hell is this shit?" The Sorcerer Supreme speaks the spell. "Wings of demon, strength of dragons, size of the undiscovered." Luke from behind remarks, "Sweet Christmas." Above the city fly different Novas and Brood, all stopping midair as they hear the sound of screeching from below. They look down, and what do they see? Ant-Man leading an aerial assault atop a giant demonic ant. Thousands follow his charge. Scott hums in the Tomb of Ride of the Valkyries. "Demon ants now, demon ants now, piss your pants now, 'cause demon ants." Captain Marvel stops midair, looking at the unexpected, frankly bizarre cavalry. Sam lands next to Bucky atop the helicarrier, saying, "Remind me never to call him Tic Tac again." On the shield bridge, Reed radios the ships, now in space. He contacts Johnny, who is piloting, asking him if he's seen any of Doom or Galactus. But none of the ships have. Before signing off, Richards tells the ships that there may be soldiers and Brood out there, and to be careful. Johnny instructs the other ships on the galactic path to raise shields. The other pilots, Rhodey, Bruce Banner, and the other brave volunteers raise yellow alert, activating their defenses. The Herbie vessels are filled with millions and millions of people, worried, scared, nearly ready to riot. But the heroes they look up to are there to help cope with the situation. If only there were more for them. On the ship piloted by Banner, Hank contacts Scott Summers, who's still with his mutant people, stuck on the ship in Wakanda. He asks what their status is, and the ship has been near wrecked by the attacks of Nova. Hank is then directed to Shuri, where he can work with her on the ship's engines. At this moment, Scott and Jean are approached by Wakandan soldiers with the unconscious body of Storm. Dr. Hank McCoy comes in, examining her, saying that she'll be okay, but she can't go back out. Scott demands to know what's going on out there, and he's told that Atlantis is attacking them. Jean stops him before he even starts. You don't have your powers, Scott. What do you think you'll do out there? Scott replies, he's a mutant, Jean. Because of that, I have to stop him. He kneels down to his daughter, Hope, giving her a hug, telling her to look out for her mother. Scott asks Hank if he brought out his emergency plan, and McCoy did. Handing a silver box to him, the Beast tells his friend that it's just a prototype, but Scott needs it to be enough. Before leaving, Scott kisses Jean, the shepherd of mutant survival, looks to his people, and then he leaves to battle. Outside, Wakanda is a war zone. Bodies flying, falling, weapons shattering, bone and shields. It's a near impossible fight. Finally, T'Challa reaches Namor in the middle of the battlefield. Their fight is brutal and wicked. The Black Panther demands to know why. Why couldn't Namor let the past go? The King of Atlantis tells him that he considered Wakanda's offer, but he came across a better one. T'Challa realizes. Doom. You've joined with that madman? For what? A seat at his table? Namor chuckles. That and a few perks. Doom is right to start humanity over this way. At least my people won't be treated as things to throw away in the ocean. With this proclamation, the kings tackle each other deeper into the battle. In New York, the fight is still vicious. Atop different buildings, different members of the X Factor team fight off the space invaders. Alex Summers, Havoc, sprays down the giant bugs as Jubilee is behind him. She looks down to the street below, yelling, Alex! Alex, that's Spider-Man down there! On the ground, the lovely couple Rogue and Gambit are using shattered buildings and cars as their cover. The raging Cajun jokes. Told you I'd take you out to the city one of these nights, Sherry. Rogue smiles, giving him a kiss, and then they rush back to the fight. Back at the helicarrier, Reed notices on the monitors a huge amount of energy is breaking through the atmosphere. It's them. Fury asks how they diminish Doom's power to make this a fair fight. Reed tells them that they have to separate him from Galactus and Surfer. He tells Fury and Strange and Frost, I have a plan. Suddenly, lightning cracks and the darkened skies light up. A green hue pollutes the horizon. And finally, the giant body of Galactus lowers itself down, closer to the battle-torn New York. Atop the giant's helmet stands Doom himself in a Napoleonic pose. He is triumphant. His best soldier, the Silver Surfer, hovers near. Victor chuckles. Home sweet home. At that moment, a blast from the rear. Quickly, the Surfer protects his master, shielding him from the laser. Captain Marvel flies up to them, and Victor notices her courage, asking if she'd like to direct her powers to a more noble cause, the cause of Doom. Carol tells him, sorry, I already have a job. Welcome, committee. Doom orders his Surfer. Have fun with her, Norrin. The Silver Surfer charges Captain Marvel, who flies away. They fire upon each other until Carol manages to land a blow so hard, the Surfer ends up in a different state. Doom orders Galactus down to the streets of New York and makes him proud. The giant does so, and Doom still floats in the air, witnessing the war below. The heroes below look up to see the unbelievable. Next to Daredevil, Spider-Man comments, oh boy, what is it, Parker? Asks the lawyer by day. I'm just glad you can't see this, Mr. Murdoch. Galactus lands on the ground, walking with monstrous momentum. Each step, a small earthquake. Up above, Doom directs his attention to the helicarrier. Reed. He teleports himself right onto the bridge. Multiple agents fire at him with little to no effect. He sends the bullets firing right back to them. With each blast, Doom yells, where is he? Blast! Where? Blast! Where? Behind Doom, another yell, but from Fury. Enough is enough! He turns to see Nick Fury next to Agent Coulson and the Winter Soldier, all equipped with special updated rifles made from the destroyer's armor. You may remember it from when it was used by Coulson against a certain god of mischief. The three soldiers fire simultaneously at Doom, who is knocked back but not down. He redirects the blasts at them, knocking some back but mortally wounding others. Fury is bleeding out from his side before landing a killing blow on the director. He's called. Behind him, Richards stands. No more, Victor. You want me? Come get me. Quickly, Doom comes up to Reed and reaches for his throat, but he can't. He's not there. Reed is a hologram, which infuriates Doom. Victor demands to know where he is, and Reed tells him that he's home. The image ceases to be. Doom stands there for a moment, but then he realizes. Doom immediately teleports away, still on the ground. Fury speaks into his radio, contacting the other members of the Illuminati. It worked. In space, on one of the more security-based Herbie ships, the Vision receives this notification as he guards Wanda, who is in a compact portable cell. He asks if they're sure they don't need his help to deal with Doom or Galactus, but he's assured he's perfect staying with Wanda. Wanda overhears the conversation. She tells her husband that keeping her locked up isn't going to help save the world. What does Vision think will happen? Does he think that she'll die? What is it? The Vision, in a rage, admits, "No, I don't want you to hurt anyone else." Wanda is heartbroken after hearing this. She turns her back on Vision, whispering, "You once said you were on the side of life, but now I see what that really means." Vision apologizes, but it's too late. She's done with him. Johnny, on board his ship, does a round about the ship, checking on families, having the Herbie drones dispense food and water to families throughout. It's stressful. He notices a young boy sitting in the corner with a Spider-Man toy and a tear in his eye. Johnny asks him if he's okay, and the boy is scared. He lost his parents. Johnny asks more questions about his parents, but notices that this only scares the kid more. He asks for his name. The kid's name is Miles. "So, you like Spidey, huh, Miles?" Johnny asks. Miles nods his head. "Well," Johnny continues, "I'm the Human Torch, and you can take it from me. Spidey's a friend of mine, and he's going to save the day, okay?" Miles smiles at Johnny. They take each other's hand, and Storm helps look for his parents. It's daytime in Latveria, an abandoned town, Tonsberg, empty homes, fields, and Reed, sitting there, twirling a flower in his hand, waiting. And as expected, near Richards, a portal opens, and it's Victor. He tells Mr. Fantastic that he has a morbid sense of humor, wanting to finish this in Latveria, the home that Reed stole from him. "There are more productive ways to channel your anger, Victor. Ever consider therapy?" Reed asks. Doom boasts, "Civilizations aren't built without conquest, Reed. You wouldn't trade your bed for a country pre-European arrival, would you?" "I am simply trying to build the best." Reed tells him to stop using that twisted logic as a scapegoat. He put his anger before people's well-being. Doom asks, "What people? The same ones who cheat and steal and kill? The ones who've created corrupt governments? The ones who've suppressed the weak and treat the optimists with cynicism? Are those the people you're talking about?" Reed tells him not everyone is like that. "By the end of today, we'll see what they're really like," Doom assures. Behind him, someone says, "In my opinion, Doctor." Victor turns to see Doctor Strange. "You need to open your mind." Strange puts his hand on Doom's forehead, pushing him through the constructs of his essence. Doom falls between different tangled versions of his past. Latverian homes around him twist, bend, and turn from cubes to triangles to spheres. Doom finally lands on the ground. His mask falls off him into pieces, which frightens him. "Who are you, Victor Von Doom?" says Strange in an ominous voiceover. Moving his hands away from his face, Victor sees in a puddle below that his face is back to normal. He's handsome again. The sound of Emma Frost's voice can be heard. "Quite a looker, Doctor." Is that what this is about? Vanity? Or something deeper? Doom's surroundings shift again, and he's now in a small Sokovian cottage. He looks around, bewildered. Mama? He asks. A little boy rushes past Victor, rubbing his eyes. Quickly. The boy's mother catches him, finding a black eye. You mustn't take this to heart, Victor, the mother says. Those boys did this to you because they are jealous, because you are so much more than any of them. Do you understand? The little boy doesn't answer, still crying. At that moment, his mother slaps him. Do you understand? The boy, scared, answers, Yes, Mama. To the side, Victor sees this, with tears developing. Now Victor's adulthood rushes past him. His admittance to MIT, meeting Professor Richards, laughing with him during drinks, a special monument, meeting Susan Storm, asking her to dinner, but being denied, realizing that she's with Reed. Suddenly, he remembers the reports of Sokovia's destruction. Victor is now in Sokovia, amongst the rubble, finding the body of his mother. She's lifeless, in his arms. He yells to the air, damning heroes, damning Tony Stark. We see him rebuilding Sokovia from the ground up, taking over, turning it into Latveria, his reign. We then see the attempt on his life by the Maker from Second Chance. You've only known pain, Victor, says Strange. But that doesn't mean it's all that is, Frost remarks. Emma notices something key in Doom's mind. When you claimed these powers from the Beyonder, you wanted to bring your mother back, but it was forbidden, Emma says. I couldn't save her, says Doom, but they can save them all. Not at the cost of blood, Victor, Strange says firmly. Doom retorts, It's always the cost of blood. With great fury, Doom uses his power to push Strange and Emma back out of his mind. He's back to reality, looking at the two psychic invaders. He blasts Emma away and battles with Strange. Stephen raises his shields against Doom, but Victor's fury is unchallenged. Dr. Strange is put down quickly. All that's left is Reed in front of Doom. He approaches huffing and puffing, ready to kill the hero. Behind his back, Reed presses a panic button. I'm sorry, Victor, Reed says. Not yet, you aren't. A roaring can be heard, closing in. But from where? At that moment, Victor is stabbed from behind by the Wolverine in his yellow and blue uniform. You're going down, bub. Logan continues to stab and stab and stab, going in for the kill shot. Reed watches, the horror. He's ashamed that it had to come to this. But suddenly, Doom grabs Wolverine. And you aren't as effective as Reed thought you'd be. With his powers, Reed pulls the adamantium straight from Logan's skeleton. The Axeman yells in unimaginable pain. Logan, yells Reed, but Doom blasts him away where he lands on rubble, barely conscious. Logan falls to the floor, near death, catatonic. Above him, Doom uses the adamantium, shaping a spear. He now looks to Reed with the intent of using it. Back in New York, buildings have been shattered due to the path of Galactus. The heroes are scattered, firing whatever they can, having little to no effect. Missiles are shot from the helicarrier above, but for naught. Quinjets are being swatted away like flies. Lifting its giant arm, Galactus aims a beam of cosmic energy right at the Baxter building. The skyscraper is brought down, causing havoc and dust. What was once a symbol for innovation is now nothing but a pile of disaster. At the knees of the giant, the She-Hulk throws a semi-truck, grabbing Galactus's attention. He looks down, attempting to stomp on Jennifer, until its legs are now wrapped by webbing. With more web than he's ever spun before, Spider-Man attempts to trip the giant, but this effort is for naught, as the Goliath tears through it, grabbing the wall crawler himself, and he throws him away like trash. Parker is sent hurtling through the air, landing on Liberty Island, right under the Statue of Liberty. Ow. Fury, who's still bleeding out, sees Galactus from his monitor. He says that it looks like they have to nuke the bastard. Up on his demon bug, Ant-Man sees the destruction Galactus is leaving. He radios Fury and Sam, telling them that he has an idea to stop the behemoth, not involving yellow cake. Cap tells him that he's not even sure an army of demon ants can do anything, but that's not what Scott is talking about. He needs a path down to the street. Then, Captain America flies down with the helicarriers, escorting Scott to the ground. Wilson asks Lang what he's got, and Scott pulls out that one-time growth disc, telling Captain America he might want to get a few blocks away. On the other side of the world, atop the volcanic Mount Fuji, Carol lands after taking a hit from the Silver Surfer. They blast at each other, taking out chunks of land. Tons of dirt falls around them, and Danvers tries reasoning with Norrin. She tells him that Reed told her about him and about how he's being used by Doom. She has her own history with being manipulated. She tells him that he's stronger than the oppressor. He just has to remember it. Norrin attacks Carol, telling her that he's seen what Reed really is. He is the true manipulator. He brings people down, making them need him. He's a monster. Carol asks what that makes him. Look at what their attack led to. People dying, running. Is that really what he stands for? The surfer looks down, pondering her words, but the anger takes over. He attacks even more viciously. Back in Latveria, Doom approaches Reed, who's still recovering from his attack. With his adamantium scepter, Victor chuckles, saying that Reed's moral superiority was an illusion. He was left with no choice but to kill Victor, and that wasn't even enough. Don't you see it now? It always comes to this, Reed, with a bloody nose and defeated look on his face, says. You're right. You've won. Doom raises the spear, about to pierce his old friend's heart. Mr. Fantastic closes his eyes, accepting his fate. As Victor lunges, he stops, and Reed is shocked. Gasps can be heard from behind Dr. Doom's helmet. He drops the spear. He backs away, grasping at his chest. What's happening? A voice from behind says, he's having a heart attack. Richards looks behind to see Susan, becoming visible, with her arm raised at Doom. She's conjured a force field inside his body, cutting off the blood circulation from his heart. Doom, now on his knees, whispers, I need you. That message is sent directly to his heralds. In Wakanda, the war continues, but still in their crater, Terrax and Nova's eyes open. The two stand up, and at an incredible speed, they rush continents to their master. In Japan, Captain Marvel is in the firm grip of the Silver Surfer, and right as he's about to land the kill shot, he hears Doom's message and immediately leaves. Carol drops. In New York, the giant Galactus turns his head toward the message, taking a break from its caused destruction. Slowly, he starts to walk away from the city, towards Doom, but the sound of more rubble can be heard. And then, a booming voice. Leaving so soon? Galactus turns to see a giant Scott Lang, matching his size, as big as a skyscraper. The giant man punches the monster in his face, causing a shockwave, shaking the buildings all around. Lang tells him, they call me the king of monsters. In Wakanda, Namor finally has pinned down T'Challa. My partner has just called for us, the Submariner says. I will make quick work of you, then get what's mine. With heavy breaths, T'Challa yells, you will not win. At that moment, the Black Panther is stabbed with Namor's scepter. The Atlantean laughs. We already have Savage. It's over. T'Challa coughs blood, and surprisingly, a voice is heard from the side of them. It's not over until it's over, Dick. The voice says. Namor is then blasted away by an optic red blast. It's from Scott Summers, wearing an updated designed visor by Beast to mimic his old power. Namor growls, Summers! Cyclops, Scott replies. He tells Namor that it's his last chance to surrender. The Atlantean king rushes at the X-Man, but is quickly put down, underestimating the raw power of Cyclops' visor. Then, the hero helps T'Challa to his feet. The two are headed to the shuttle that will catch them up to the Herbie ship, already in the air. Through the radio, T'Challa tells his forces to fall back and follow him to the escape vessel. Back in Latveria, Sue's grasp is strong as she approaches the god on his knees. She tells him that she's dreamed for this since he killed Ben. Doom mocks her, asking if she's sure it's not that she finds him irresistible. The invisible woman tightens her grip, squeezing the life out of Victor. From behind, Reed tells her, "Do it, Sue. Do it." This catches her off guard. She looks back to him, shocked by his words. She asks, "What?" Doom chuckles, now knowing that he's truly won. At that moment, his heralds arrive. Terrax, Nova, and the Surfer. They're all about to attack Sue, until Doom stops them. He orders them to stand down. "Well, Susan?" Doom snarls. Susan looks back to Reed, whose eyes are filled with rage, regret, and a need for violent resolve. "You were right," he says. She looks down, ashamed, letting go of Doom, asking her what she's done. Richards is now an overflowing cup, spilling his anger, yelling at the top of his lungs. As Doom gets up, asking his old friend, It's agonizing, is it not? To face a problem with no conceivable solution?" Doom uses his power to force Reed and Sue to their knees. She asks him, what's next? Is it going to use her and Reed's children to kill them? And then, everything else? "You won't die today, Susan. You're part of the bargain." Their omnipotent foe smirks. As for the rest of the world, let's check our progress. Doom summons a few mystical portals acting as windows to other parts of the world and the universe. One portal opens above the war zone that is Wakanda. The city is torn apart with what little soldiers there are left either running or brutally killing each other. Doom contacts the invader, Namor, asking if he's ready to leave. The portal's viewpoint now shifts to Namor, who tells his lord that he has a few things to take care of quickly. The Submariner stalks the two leaders, T'Challa and Summers. He kicks the Panther out of Cyclops' grasp, leaving him to bleed on the floor. Seeing the attack, Reed yells for T'Challa. This wakes up Emma Frost, who is still lying in the rubble. With all of Namor's strength, he punches Cyclops' visor, shattering it directly into his face. He blinded the mutant. He points to Scott. "I am not one of you." And now he points to T'Challa. Now it's the time for humility. Frost can sense the pain the Scott feels and sees him through the portal. She's haunted to see her mutant brother lying like a kicked dog. Logan, who's still on the ground bleeding and without adamantium, groans after seeing his friend crippled that way. "A parting gift," Namor chuckles. He takes out a remote detonator and activates it, leaving Wakanda. He hears the sound of a giant bomb in the distance. Namor walks through the portal, leaving his armies and enemies. Now in Latveria, like the Romans, he locks arms with Doom, assuring their new leader will fulfill his part of the bargain. Doom responds, "She's all yours." Namor grins, now approaching Susan. She tries to fight him off, but the king powers through her force fields, grabbing her almost invisible arm. Reed tells him to leave her alone, but Namor responds, "From what I've heard, Richards, you missed your chance with this one." Before she can speak another word, Susan is knocked out by a tap from Namor. He now holds her in his arms. Doom remarks, "I thought you got over her, Reed." A new portal opens a window to a war-torn New York City, where fighter jets struggle against Novas and Brood, and the giant man battles Galactus. Lang lands a hard punch on Galactus, gaining an advantage. "Stupid Zord," he yells. Galactus, recovering from the attack, quickly blasts a beam of energy at the hero's helicarrier, bringing it down. The S.H.I.E.L.D. agents and the soldiers on board are in a frenzy, preparing for the impact. Scott yells, rushing as fast as his size allows him to, toward the helicarrier. The purple behemoth takes the opportunity to blast another energy beam, but this time with more power, and aimed right at Scott. The blast creates a hole in Scott Lang's chest. The heroes are on the ground. the witnesses from the helicarrier. Reed and Latveria all watch the horror as the Ant-Man shakes the earth when his body falls atop buildings and ultimately the ground. The giant man, the Ant-Man, the good man, is dead. Fury is haunted by the giant man's death, but this doesn't stop him from carrying out the mission. "Pull him down!" he yells. Coulson wires into what's left of the SHIELD command module, initiating Command David. The nuke is sent into the heart of Manhattan. It flies at 500 miles per hour, but Galactus is quicker. The giant raises his hand toward the missile, deconstructing it piece by piece until the heart of the weapon is exposed. He absorbs the ionized energy. It's useless. Earth at this point is beaten. Reed yells furiously, "No!" rushing at Doom, but is quickly held back by Nova and Terrax. He pleads to them, "Frank, Valeria, please, you have to help me. They're not just kids anymore, Richards. They're mine. How would they stop me? By killing me? Didn't you already try that?" Doom says, now ignoring everyone. Doom closes his eyes and whispers, "Now, are you ready, my dear?" In space, aboard one of the Herbie vessels, walking freely in the halls, is Wanda. She finds a secure hiding place where she has a good view of the millions of citizens. She plays with a toy yo-yo that's colored green and purple with the face of the Vision. The Vision is no more. She whispers, "Yes, Victor, I'm in position." Back in Latveria, Doom tells Reed, "You know, ostracizing the gifted, giving them shallow names like Scarlet Witch, it doesn't give them incentive to be complacent, especially when they begged for your forgiveness. Now, my Wanda has that chance." "To do what exactly?" asks Reed. Doom tells him, "To start over. You and I can agree that this universe is flawed, to say the least, but I'm going to do it the right way, the way it's meant to be. Now it's time." Doom lifts his arms to the sky, summoning dark energy, shaking the entire planet. In the ship, far away, Wanda does the same, with her power of shifting reality. Doom says, "Milky Way, meet Andromeda." Now, the constellations forcibly shift, and planets in multiple star systems lose their orbit. Our galaxy's spiral is now more erratic. Stars blink out of existence. Doom is colliding the Milky Way galaxy with the Andromeda galaxy. In Latveria, the sky's hue shifts to different colors. In space, the Herbies ships are moved back and forth by cosmic waves. Their pilots fight for control. Johnny does his best to keep the people on board calm, all while still keeping Alicia and Nathan safe. Quietly getting up from the rubble, Emma Frost raises her hand towards Nova and Terrax. She seeps into their mind, unlocking the hold that Doom had. They realize that they're next to their father, Reed. The family embraces. Franklin asks what's going on, but stops, noticing Susan, knocked out in Namor's arms. Immediately, he rushes towards him. "Let go of my mom!" he yells. Namor ducks under Franklin's swing of his axe. The two engaged in an enclosed bout. The Silver Surfer notices Reed's freedom and rushes him, but is intercepted by Valeria. The two blast at each other, but Val quickly recognizes her husband. "Norrin?" Slowly, the Silver Surfer stops firing. He's confused. He holds his head, trying to piece what is real and what is not. "He lied to you, Norrin. Doom doesn't control you. No one does," she begs. Above, still amplifying his energy, Doom notices the conflict below. He sees Franklin's foot over Namor, keeping him from moving. Valeria's attempt at freeing the Surfer, and the woman responsible for his treason, Emma. "Bitch!" he yells. He stops shooting his blasts and flies towards the White Queen. Emma armors up with her diamond skin, but it's not enough. The force of Doom's hit breaks off a piece of her lower torso. Splintered pieces of diamond fall, as does Frost. Reed quickly rushes to grab Emma in her final moments. She's still covered in her diamond skin. As her final act, she sends a telepathic message to the unconscious Doctor Strange. "Wake up. Strange does so and slowly lifts himself from the rubble. You know what you must do, Stephen. The sorcerer looks at their battlefield, their loss. There's only one move left. Dr. Strange casts a spell. Qui opus speculum translucat. In the Wakandan palace, T'Challa helps the now blind Cyclops. They hurry as fast as they can to the ship, but see from high up, the nation that his people worked so hard to build is flooded. The soldiers below, Atlantean and Wakandan, are taken by the tidal waves. Buildings collapse. Fields are sunken. It's horrific. And it's all because of Namor. Scott asks what's happening. T'Challa responds, that bastard just signed his death warrant. Just then, the Black Panther and Cyclops start to glow. It's the magic of Doctor Strange. Scott yells for Jean, and T'Challa yells for Storm. After a split second, they disappear. The two escape the country's destruction. Back in Latveria, Richards holds Emma in his arms, but suddenly, he starts to glow as well. He looks to Susan, still on the floor. Boom, he's gone. After Reed, Franklin glows, who reaches from his still unconscious mother. But it's too late. He's gone. Lastly, Valeria, who calls for Norrin to take her hand. The Silver Surfer is scared and confused, but before he can make up his mind, she too is gone. Namor gets up, saying that if Franklin hadn't snuck up on him, he would have won. Doom says it doesn't matter. Their business on Earth is over. His business with Richards is over. Victor looks over to Strange and says, but ours isn't, Doctor. With his telepathy, Doom breaks Strange's hands. His screams are familiar, for pain is an old friend. Doom comes to Norrin, putting his hand on his shoulder, asking if he's all right. Norrin lies. Yes, Doom. He looks up, longing for Val. Doom, groans Logan. I'm gonna cut your goddamn head off. We can't have that, now can we? Says Doom. I see you're trying to heal. Doom uses his power to take away Wolverine's healing factor. Logan yells and is kicked right in the eye by Victor. I may have some use for you as well. His heralds gather round, as does his prisoners, and Dr. Doom teleports away with Norrin, Namor, Susan, Logan, and Strange. Latveria is left a crumbling shell, fragranted with treachery and dilapidation. In New York, the sky is falling. In the skyline, Galactus can be seen walking amongst the buildings, and then he isn't, for disappeared, meeting with his master Doom. In the harbor of the city, a helicarrier sinks slowly. Agents are escorted from the sea into the city by our defenders and X-Factor. The Novas are still attacking, while the heroes on the ground are focused on finding cover. Most of the demon ants are atop Ant-Man's body, consoling their fallen leader. On board the helicarrier, Agent Coulson lies, holding Nick Fury. Slowly, he's slipping away. I think I'm done, Coulson, Fury whispers. Not an option, sir, the agent replies. Fury assures him, telling his faithful friend that their parts in this aren't over because they can't be. It's up to Coulson now. He's the one who brings them together. As those are his final words, Nick Fury dies. In the halls of the sinking vessel, Sam Wilson rushes to find them. He sees the agent holding the now former director. He and Phil Coulson then start to glow and then disappear. On Liberty Island, Peter Parker has broken bones. He's barely walking. He sees the sky shifting, and across the harbor, buildings falling atop of each other. Spider-Man falls on his knees under the Statue of Liberty. He gives up. On Mars, the colonies to store humanity are shaking. The Mars rover is crushed under the now collapsing boulders. The Eternals, who terraform the planet, are struggling to keep their new homes up, but it seems useless. In space, the Scarlet Witch uses her power to rewire the Herbie drones on every escape vessel. Their LED lights shift from blue to green. Across the ships, the drones spread throughout the human refugees. Slowly, the ship's pilots lose control of their navigation. When bringing Miles back to his parents, Johnny notices the hacking and radios to the others. asking Rhodey, Banner, and the other pilots whether they're feeling the same effects. They fight for control of their vessels as the people on board start to panic. Saturn's rings are flying away. Visible moons start to crash in their planets. It's chaotic. In all of the ships, the Herbies hover across and above the civilians of the world. They project an image of Doom, standing tall above. He announces himself to them all, with the Herbie drones translating for each culture. Mankind, he says. My kind. You've run out of your homes, left behind your birthright. But do you ever ask yourselves why? Why is this happening? I can tell you. Hank Pym orders the engineers to try and regain command of the drones. By now, Doom continues, these heroes who shepherd you are probably trying to delete this message. But if you want the truth, you won't let them. It starts off very civil, where the people try to block the engineers from the drones, but quickly it becomes violent, where the hordes of scared civilians punch down the different workers. One of them punches down Hank Pym himself. At this point, Cassie, Hope, and Janet rush to his aid. The heroes on board each of these ships are outnumbered and cornered by the millions of people. Doom continues his speech. Our world was ending. I knew this. Your leaders knew this. But more importantly, Reed Richards knew this. I told him my plan to save you, all of us. His response? Well, the giant hologram of Doom unveils his hood and takes off his metal mask, showing his burnt, mangled face. The crowd on all the ships are horrified, mothers covering their children's eyes. Some people shed tears, others start to feel sick. His children knew, Doom proclaims, and instead of acknowledging their fear, he perverted their very essence. Next to Doom, a hologram of Franklin and Valeria, Richards turning slowly into Terex and Nova appears. The crowd's reaction is as expected, littered with disgust. Doom continues, those children and myself were marooned on a barren planet by Richards, with no hope of returning to you. Until we were saved. An image of Galactus appears. We came to Earth to save you. Richards and his group of overpowered stormtroopers chose to scare you with ideas of stories of me being a power-mad despot. He took my home, Latveria, and burned it to the ground. Doom shows an image of the destroyed country. As my men started to liberate the beautiful nation of Wakanda, he and the merciless T'Challa Udaku decided to sacrifice the city and the people. He shows an image of the flooded country with the escape ship on fire. The people inside the African ship are rowdy, scared, and pushing each other as their ship is hit by waves of the flood outside. Storm slowly wakes up, asking where T'Challa is. Jean tells her that she doesn't know. She holds Hope close in her arms. He's even given up on his own people, Doom says. The last image is of New York, crumbling every second, with fighter jets lying around, the oceans pulling into the city, and the giant man lying dead on 4 different blocks. At this point, Cassie yells for her father. Janet holds Hank close, and Hope grabs Scott's daughter. Hugging her, Hank's breathing starts to become separated, slowly. Each breath takes more effort. Hank uses his earpiece to radio Bruce, who's still trying to access his control panel. Bruce, the quantum tunnel. Now. Banner calls for Hank, but there's no response. Hank pulls out the earpiece and looks up to Jan, who still holds him. It's not about saving our world. The crying Jan looks at him. I know. It's about saving theirs. He takes one last look at Hope and Cassie, who are still crying over Scott. Quit finishing my sentences and finish my work. And with those last words, Hank Pym is done, and Jan closes her now former husband's eyes. Cassie and Hope notice and rush to Jan and Hank. They cry. Doom above them all finishes his speech. I know this is frightening. That's why I didn't give up. Richards has now activated the device that will end this universe.
As I speak, worlds across galaxies are collapsing under shattering stars. But through the destruction, there is something new, and I can take you there. Johnny comes running towards the crowds of his ship, finally being able to communicate through their radio system. Don't listen to him. This is Johnny Storm. I was there. He killed Ben Grimm, and he created the Maker. He's killed thousands upon thousands of innocent people. At that moment, Doom plays an old audio clip. It's of Johnny Storm himself from the beginning of this story. These people better listen to us. Otherwise, what's the point of saving them? They'll just stay angry and insane. After hearing this, the crowds are silent for a moment until they start to boo and then throw things at Johnny. Miles's heart is broken. He tries to tell them that that's not what he said and it's out of context, but that's not enough. The heroes try their best to fend off the crowds of angry, scared, and tireless people, but even they can't fight the whole world. Doom above puts his mask back on, along with his hood. He asks, Richards wanted you to make the world in his vision. But I ask you, why not our own? The people of the world start to chant, Doom, 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 Doom. Victor grins under his mask as riots above all the ships occur. Heroes are being pummeled. Johnny guides Alicia and the baby Nathan away from the trouble, deeper into the catacombs of the ship. Sorcerers of Camartage use their shields to defend themselves, but even they can't handle the pressure of the mobs. James Rhodes is pulled away and his legs are broken. Bruce Banner is at his computer console, initiating the quantum tunnel, humanity's last chance of escape. Wanda Maximoff comes behind him, playing with her new yo-yo. The witch tells him that she and Victor have a job opportunity for him. She then, like in the past, dips into the Hulk's mind. A few moments later, Bruce Banner is gone, and the savage Hulk returns, jumping in the middle of the riots. He foams at the mouth, giant and green, yelling, Doom! The monster who was once an Avenger now charges at the heroes he once considered friends, followed by the rioters who once considered him a freak. On the ship in Africa, humans and mutants are back at odds, blaming each other for this. One man calls a mutant God's unluck. They start to fight, and former X-Men like Angel, Iceman, Beast, Mystique, Colossus, Kitty, Nightcrawler are forced to attack humans to protect the mutants, since there are so little left. Okoye protects T'Challa's mother, and Shuri, while Storm is being protected by Jean and the mutants. Those who aren't fighting in the ships are chanting, Save us! Save us! Save us! All of humanity is protesting. Doom tells Wanda to plot a course for their new home. She casts a spell, summoning giant glowing portals in front of the ship. They start to fly through. The crowds cheer. The heroes are beaten. The light grows. On the floor is the Pym family, with Cassie crying. Jen looks at her, saying that Hank knew this was the day they'd lose. They're meant to win another one. The ship in Wakanda is engulfed by a portal from Wanda. As the light from the portal approaches the ships in space, Cassie suddenly starts to glow herself. It's the same yellow as the heroes from earlier. She then disappears, leaving her family and the humans. Before you know it, the ships pass through, the portals close, and the space they left continues to break down. Meanwhile, Cassie Lang appears somewhere else, somewhere different and mystical. It's an enclosed space with mirror-plated floors, ceilings, and walls. It's shaped like an odd bubble. She can see through the structure, and surrounding her is space. But not just. Cassie? A voice calls. She turns around to see the other heroes, Reed, Franklin, and Valeria Richards, T'Challa, who is getting medical attention by Agent Coulson, the blind Scott Summers, who's being guided by Sam Wilson. They're happy to see that she made it. Reed asks what happened to the other human survivors. Are they okay? She interrupts him, yelling, Is it true? Is it? Reed doesn't know what she's talking about. Doom said that all of this, all of these deaths, my dad's death, are because of you. and you're the one who caused the end of the universe. Is it true? No, he says. I promise. Valeria comes up to her, saying that she promises her that it's not. Cassie recognizes her and Franklin. Now she's more convinced. She asks what Doom did to the universe. Reed tells them that Victor sped up the universe's lifespan, similarly to how he killed Ben Grimm. Our Milky Way has been calculated to collide with the Andromeda Galaxy, and from that, a new universe will be born. It wasn't supposed to happen for a couple billion years, but Doom didn't really care about that. Why would a god be so worried about something so relatively trivial, Reed says. That's a bad question, says a voice from behind. Another hero who appears in the yellow glow is Captain Marvel. Better question is, where is he? And why can't I punch him right now? Carol says. She asks Reed where they are and how they get back to Earth. Richard says that they're in a mirror capsule, a backup plan by Doctor Strange, meant to preserve those needed to stop Doom in the long run. As for Earth, look down. Through the see-through floor, Earth is below them, coming closer and closer to the sun. The moon is already on a collision course with their planet. Carol tries to break through, needing to go down and save their friends, but Reed tells her it's too late. Plus, the mirror capsule is impenetrable. Soon enough, they'll all be in stasis, traveling the new universe, waiting to be useful. He sits down, pondering his failure. If that day ever comes, Reed says. I was wrong, and Victor was right. People nowadays are used up, worn. They can never change. That's why he won. And it's why we lost. The room is silent. Bullshit, says Valeria. You saved me, Dad, she continues. You saved Franklin. You led a mission evacuating a whole planet filled with people who are divided more than ever. Dad, Franklin adds, Mom is still out there. Uncle Johnny, Aunt Alicia, baby Nathan, our friends, our people. We can't give up, Reed, says Scott. But what do we do? Asks Reed. At this point, really, he's not only changing reality, he's convinced everyone that we are the ones responsible for this, that we are the bad guys. He took Sue, and he made me want to kill him. He made me try to kill him. Phil Coulson approaches Reed. Get up. Reed does, slowly, but surely. One thing we agree on. This isn't something we can punch, and that's it. We're going to need to outthink Doom. Know how I know that? Asks Coulson. Reed shakes his head no. Because I've faced people like Doom. They're usually the guys who lose. And he will. I promise you. Reed takes in the agent's words, saying that was a damn good speech. Cassie asks what's next. Sam says that Strange chose them for a reason. Probably not to save this world, but the next. And to make sure that no one goes unpunished, adds T'Challa. The heroes gather as they all watch the Earth be engulfed by the expanding sun. An old world. A good world. I'll find you, Susan, says Reed. The Earth is engulfed by the sun, and as the star expands, we fade to white, leaving our heroes and our home. We fade in on a high porch, overlooking endless fields of grass. The veranda is royal, and enjoying the view is Victor Von Doom, in a white variant of his cloak and armor. He's joined by Wanda, who he holds in his arm. She tells her husband, I knew it. No matter who or what was in the way, all that suffering would eventually mean this. Damn those who would think different. Victor tells her. But Reed was right about one thing. I couldn't have done this alone. The two are joined by Namor and his new queen, Susan, who is different, entranced by the King of Atlantis, brainwashed. Above them, viewing the sunset, is the Silver Surfer, with only one thought in his mind. Regret. Namor tells Doom, the commoners have named a holiday for you, my liege. Doomsday. But it will mean something else from now on. Doom remarks, yes, everything lives. The sun sets on a world with a new number of days. Post-credit scene. It's a new universe, but still cold. Stars blink, asteroids travel, and a small mirror capsule travels through the waves of space. It's completely frosted. The outer shell is fogged up, hiding the inside. Suddenly, it's stopped by a wanderer. This young man is encased in a purple-green armor with a turquoise helmet, walking in space as if it had a floor. He moves to the front of the capsule and wipes the hull. He sees a bit of the inside, making out one person. It's Reed Richards, who's completely in stasis. I found him, says the traveler. Can you hear me? I found the one. His radio responds. Loud and clear, Kang. You're good for re-entry.
Ooh.
The Fantastic Four will return. There you go.
Well, that escalated quickly.
That's the plot of this. It escalated quickly.
Things went to crap.
Crap, dude.
Wow, Julius. That was ambitious.
I know.
That was ambitious.
I'm gonna eat my
Now,
nugget.
now the new universe, there's endless possibilities. But I really love that you were bold enough to let Doom win. Let Doom win in a way where the cost was even more heightened than what Thanos won by the end of Infinity War. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And I love that he has that respect for Reed Richards by the end, where he's like, there was one thing that Reed had right, is that I couldn't do this alone. And in a way, Doctor Doom, his character arc changes in a way where he goes from, I need to do this by myself, I can do this alone, I'm the only one that can do this, to having respect for all the other heroes. I need their help as well. And I love that you stay true to the character by still having him on that path that is destructive, but in a way where you can't have creation without destruction, or destruction without creation. And he fulfills that.
Yeah, that's why we call it busting a nut.
He has that prophecy that he fulfills. Crazy, man. Awesome. I love the hero pair-ups that we have, like She-Hulk and Shang-Chi and Spider-Man. Are you serious? I need to see that. I want that so bad. And I also love that the main conflict of this, it's not necessarily like fighting the bad guys, but it's really about the dilemma of whether these heroes should leave off planet or stay and defend as best as they can, or live out their moments with their families and stuff. Really love that, because I think that'd be very interesting. We've never really seen a movie where we have a collective of heroes deal with the apocalypse, deal with their last impending days, you know? We've never really seen that, and how they would go about it. Would they fight? Would they stay? Would they go out to space and try to save the day? Or how would they react to, well, the chances are slim and the end of the world is near? How would we see that? I love the scene with the villains on the new podcast all coming together and having a party, and because I feel like that would be a genuine reaction. If they know the world is coming, now we're going to have all the super baddies come in and wreak havoc even more. Why not?
That's from a comic, Secret Wars #1. It's such a great idea where the Punisher crashed the party. It was like, hey, bitches.
Yeah, and the description, just the visual description of everybody entering in. Love it. It wasn't hard to imagine it. That's what I really loved about this writing with this pitch. It's just everything was just visually detailed and given, and I didn't have to do a lot of work to imagine this whole thing play out. It really did feel like an ambitious, epic journey, you know?
Tried, man. Tried. So thank you for what you said. What do you think it could have been a bit better? What could have worked better, do you think? I've been spending a lot of time revising, and it becomes a bit harder to know what could be better. Because, like I said earlier, like 5 hours ago, I said, there were things that I had to cut out because they just didn't track as well. I kind of get where the Marvel people are coming from when they have like altered scenes, because you want to know what works better, like they have altered scenes for like Endgame, for instance. Man, it's tough, man, because there's things you want. So is there anything that you think could have been working better?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe the things that you cut out. I don't really know. I was just so invested with the story that for me it kind of flew by. Like usually with these kind of things, with these long format narrative pitches, pacing is usually could be an issue.
Yeah.
But when I hear you speak about it, it flows by, man. Seriously. Like I'm surprised. Like probably when you post this, I'll be surprised at the length of time that this thing was. But I don't know. I think you nailed it. The pacing, the characters, the story. I like that the ending isn't a conventional ending. Like it's a very bleak ending, but it also leads itself into a more hopeful direction where maybe we'll get this universe right. Maybe everybody will have their stuff together in this next universe, and we can still take down Doom. I think it's just such a crazy revelation that it's like, imagine if we were in a universe and we had no idea the origins of it. Was Doom the creator of this universe? How many times has he done this? How many times have we gone through this and not learned from our mistakes? It's crazy. It's interesting. Gets me excited. And, I just hope someone's listening from Marvel Studios, man, because how hype would it be? How hype would it be?
And that would be crazy.
I don't know. That's something that like I feel like maybe you'd be more aware of. Like what did you cut out that you felt maybe wasn't working and why?
Well, originally I did have Thor in it. I had Thor and Jane Foster in it originally to show up.
Yeah, I noticed Thor was gone.
Yeah, Thor was originally in it because I love that character, but it wasn't. He had nothing to do essentially, to serve in the greater thing. So I was just like, you know what? I think I'll save that. There was a point where I was going to try to, for the arc of Banner, I wanted him to accept the rage within him, and he would go to like when Hank died, right? He was originally going to get a wand and say, open a portal, and then he'd Hulk out on Galactus in New York. But I felt like I had to. This was a better direction that I went in, personally. Unless you want to see that shit.
I need to see an extended cut. No, honestly, I would probably recommend you to just like if you had Thor, like have a post of like the sections of Thor, or do a read aloud of the section of Thor that for like maybe like a part 4 little minor extension,
Well, I'm not. I'll probably do it in the future at some point, just because I don't want to spoil anything. Because let me just say, there's not a part 5 to this. There's not. This is the last Fantastic Four story. But what is next is Secret Wars.
Oh.
I'm letting you know right now.
And people were even saying on that last pitch, they felt some Secret Wars up in there.
I know.
Yeah, he's coming in.
But we're going full crazy. And I'm writing this as if it were the end of the MCU. It's the final countdown. That's what I'm writing. Actually, I haven't even started right now, just because I've been doing so much stuff. But yeah, that's going to be the next one.
Yeah, I bet, man. I mean, here at the Go Movie Podcast, there's just endless amount of work that we do here. We're constantly working on different things, but that's what I love about it. Like, this is a show where we have just so much content that we put out. Not only are we commenting on things and analyzing things, but we're also watching stuff and creating our own stuff, and wanting to collaborate with people, and just hearing just great insight from our community. It's amazing.
Yes, it is amazing, and I really love doing this, even though my voice is hoarse, and sometimes it makes some stutters and misshaped words and stuff, but it's all in good fun, you know. I think as long as the story gets across, as long as you're enjoying it or someone is,
Oh yeah,
it's
and
worth it.
I guarantee you, someone's gonna enjoy this. I mean, I already did. So
So we covered it.
but I already know that there's people that is gonna enjoy this. So much fun, and I'm telling you, I really hope one day we get a visual comic to accompany this. Seriously, because that's what I would love.
Robert needs to draw more.
Yeah, I want to see a visual representation of this entire pitch. But yeah, man, I thought it was amazing. Fantastic work as
Thank
always. And to all our viewers, please make sure to check out part 1, 2, 3, and now officially 4. When we debut this, you're going to be the first one to see it. So thank you all so much. For those of you who stayed from the very beginning to the end, you are a special human being. And we just feel really blessed and privileged that you are in our company. And we really appreciate you giving us your time, because I feel like when you give someone your valuable time, it speaks louder than anything. So we really appreciate every single one of you. For those of you who want to subscribe, please feel free to subscribe to our channel. We have over 3,000 subscribers and can't wait to have more of you on board, because you make this community the greatest of all time. My name is Angel.
I'm Julius.
And this is the GOAT Movie Podcast. Thank you so much.
The GOAT Podcast is proof you don't have to look any further for movie news, reviews, trailer reactions, or special discussions. Subscribe, get notified about what's going on, and I promise you'll be entertained by our daily content on YouTube. If you want more, we're on Twitter at GOAT Film Podcast, Instagram The GOAT Podcast, and the GOAT Movie Group on Facebook. Get connected with us, see what's happening, and make sure to love it while you're doing so.